Chapter 6:26. Rank 3 Combat Beast Emperor. How is this possible? How did he raise his cultivation by a whole realm in an instant? At Yen, Yu Zhongtian and the others thought that Yi Qinfeng was at his wit's end. But in the blink of an eye, Yi Qinfeng had forcefully raised his cultivation to the rank of a rank 3 Combat Beast Emperor. Yu Zhongtian and the others had never even heard of such a shocking method, let alone seen it before. Yu Zhongtian, Mo Wang, you can go to hell now. There was a time limit to using the life spirit technique, so Yi Qinfeng did not waste any more time. Wielding the ruler weapon, he carried a shocking aura and attacked Yu Zhongtian and the others. Coiling dragon leg. When Yi Qinfeng closed in like a wild beast, Yu Bingyu's entire body spun, kicking out a series of dragon-like leg shadows, twisting and kicking towards several of Yi Qinfeng's major acupuncture points. Dark Extreme Dao. The coiling dragon leg, which was filled with several Dao intents, attacked. Yi Qinfeng's entire body's soul power surged into the sky. The illusion Dao pattern, heaven Dao pattern, death Dao pattern, and sword Dao pattern merged together and gathered in the center of his right palm. With a palm strike, the dark extreme Dao energy was like a flowing river. It was incomparably vigorous and endless. Layers of space were pierced through and exploded. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions rang out. Yu Bingyu's coiling dragon leg was blasted apart by the dark extreme Dao. The terrifying dark extreme Dao energy landed heavily on Yu Bingyu's right leg, causing it to go numb. Her tough leg bone was almost fractured, and her entire body was sent flying. 100 Battle Blood Shadow. When Mo Wang saw Yu Bingyu being sent flying by a single blow from Yi Qinfeng, he unsheathed the Sky Demon Dao armament and slashed out crimson shadows of various shapes and sizes at Yi Qinfeng. Divine Demon Bloodline. Ignite Divine Demon Body. Yi Qinfeng once again ignited his divine demon bloodline and transformed into the most terrifying divine demon body. Without any fancy moves, he charged forward. Rumble. The 100 Battle Blood Shadows, which possessed astonishing attack power, were smashed into smithereens by Yi Qinfeng's meteorite-like attacks. Boundless shockwaves surged up from the ground and swept across the blue dome of heaven. Eternal Silence, Millstone. As Yi Qinfeng relied on his absolute strength to shatter the blood shadow of 100 battles, Yu Zhongtian condensed the eternal silent millstone. It twisted the void and crushed towards Yi Qinfeng. Great Sun, Heaven Fire Fist. Black Flame, Heavenly Fire. The Dao runes of fire poured into Yi Qinfeng's fist and turned into a scorching sun. It tore through the void with unimaginable power and shattered the millstone. Dao of Darkness Spear. The instant Yi Qinfeng shattered the millstone with a single punch, Mo Qianqin thrust his spear forward at the perfect time. The spear light, filled with the Dao of Darkness, was like a black flood dragon bursting out of its cave. It pierced toward Yi Qinfeng's chest. The heavenly Dao is heartless. Mo Qianqin's spear thrust forward. 7 heavenly Dao runes flew out of Yi Qinfeng's body and transformed into heavenly Dao power that struck the Dao of Darkness spear. The terrifying heavenly Dao power constantly shattered the Dao of Darkness, forcibly compressing the Dao of Darkness spear into the shape of a full moon. The powerful recoil passed through the sky spear and into Mo Qianqin's arm, causing him to almost lose his grip on the sky spear. Black Flood Dragon, Heavenly Whip, Bind. Yi Qinfeng erupted with astonishing power and completely suppressed Yu Zhongtian and the others. Yu Bingyu stabilized the injury on her leg and brought out the Sky Spear Black Flood Dragon, Heavenly Whip, which coiled towards Yi Qinfeng. As the Black Flood Dragon, Heavenly Whip coiled around Yi Qinfeng, Yu Zhongtian, Mo Wang, and Mo Qianqin attacked Yi Qinfeng together, forcefully restricting his movements. Under the joint attack of the three, Yi Qinfeng was bound by the Black Flood Dragon, Heavenly Whip, and imprisoned in the air. Yi Qinfeng, you can die now. The moment the black flood dragon, heavenly whip coiled around Yi Qinfeng, Yu Zhongtian and the others executed their ultimate moves, forming waves of earth-shattering energy that bombarded Yi Qinfeng, wanting to take advantage of this opportunity to kill him. 15 million gene of strength explode. After using the life spirit technique, Yi Qinfeng, who had reached the level 3 Beast Emperor realm and transformed into his divine demon body, possessed 15 million gene of strength in a short period of time. When he unleashed his strongest strength, the terrifying energy surged into the black flood dragon heavenly whip, forcibly breaking apart the sky-tier black flood dragon heavenly whip. Boom! 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 At this moment, Yu Zhongtian and the others' attacks came one after another, ruthlessly bombarding Yi Qinfeng's body, forming a terrifying energy storm that directly engulfed Yi Qinfeng. This time, even if he doesn't die, he will be seriously injured. Seeing Yi Qinfeng being engulfed by the energy storm, Yu Zhongtian heaved a sigh of relief and revealed a sinister expression when he thought of the destructive power of the move just now. But in the next moment, the smile on his face froze. Yi Qinfeng, who had erupted with a destructive power, tore apart the sky-tier black flood dragon heavenly whip that was binding him and walked out of the energy storm unscathed. What other tricks do you have? Use them all at once. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't have a chance, Yi Qinfeng said in an overbearing manner. His soaring aura caused Yu Zhongtian and the others to feel a deep sense of fear. Go. Even after using their strongest Dao skill, they still couldn't injure Yi Qinfeng. Yu Zhongtian and the others wanted to retreat, wanting to leave this place as soon as possible. You want to leave now? It's too late. After saying that, Yi Qinfeng drew an afterimage in the air and intercepted them with a speed that was several times faster than the speed of light, launching a fatal attack at them. Boom! Mo Qianxin, who couldn't dodge in time, was struck by Yi Qinfeng's mysterious underworld extreme Dao. His body's defense was instantly shattered, and a large amount of blood spurted out from his mouth. His entire body flew back dozens of meters, heavily falling to the ground and fainting. Qianxin. Mo Huang saw that Mo Qianxin had been heavily injured by Yi Qinfeng and was lying on the ground. His heart sank to the bottom. He quickly fused with the Sky Demon Dao weapon and slashed at Yi Qinfeng with all his strength, wanting to force him back and carve out a path of blood. Heartless heavenly Dao. Mo Huang was one with his weapon, and his aura was like a tidal wave crashing down. Yi Qinfeng did not dodge. He stood in his original spot, unmoving like a mountain. 8 marks of heavenly Dao gushed out of his body, transforming into heavenly Dao energy. Every additional heavenly Dao rune greatly increased the power of the attack. The moment the 8 heavenly Dao runes transformed into heavenly Dao power, the space was torn apart. Boom! The 2 terrifying attacks collided, exploding with a destructive force. The powerful heavenly Dao power forcibly blocked Mo Huang's man-weapon unity slash and forced him back. Large amounts of blood spurted out from his mouth. While Yi Qinfeng was heavily injuring Mo Huang, Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu attacked from the left and right respectively. 2 millstones of absolute silence were formed as they smashed towards Yi Qinfeng. Just as the 2 silent millstones were about to hit Yi Qinfeng suddenly disappeared. Mo Huang stared at him with wide eyes as Yi Qinfeng rushed toward him. Mo Huang, I'll send you to hell first. Yi Qinfeng roared. Rolling killing energy, 15 million gene of force, and countless heavenly Daos surged into the Emperor weapon, increasing its attack power to the greatest extent. 7 swords of judgment, heaven shattering. Yi Futian slashed out with his sword, bringing with it an unparalleled power. The heaven-shattering sword cleaved through the space, creating a spatial crack that spread rapidly as it slashed towards Mo, who had turned pale with fright. Boom! Thunder roared, and divine might shook the heavens. Mo Wuong's defense was broken by Yi Qinfeng's sword, but his body was also cut in half by the heaven-shattering sword. Blood filled the sky as he fell into a pool of blood dead. The number one genius of the Western continent, Mo Wuong, had become a ghost under Yi Qinfeng's sword. Mobile reading site, book address. To make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this book. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blogs, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 6, 27. Dead. Mo Wuong is dead. Seeing Yi Qinfeng kill Mo Wuong with a single strike, Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu's foreheads immediately broke out in a cold sweat, revealing a look of fear. They never would have thought that their flawless plan would not only fail to kill Yi Qinfeng in the end, but also kill Mo Wuong. Just as the two of them were filled with fear and wanted to leave this place as soon as possible, something unexpected happened again. Mo Qianxin, who should have been lying on the ground with serious injuries, suddenly appeared beside Mo Wuong's corpse. Not only did he take away his Sky Demon Dao weapon, but he also used a strange demonic art to madly devour Mo Wuong's pure blood. Biar, this aura, why is it so similar to Mo Fengyun's? Feeling the cold aura from Mo Qianxin's body, Yi Qinfeng raised his eyebrows, revealing a look of surprise. He was surprised that Mo Qianxin's aura was exactly the same as Mo Fengyun's. Biar, Flame Dragon destroys the world. While Mo Wuong was engulfing Mo Wuong's blood essence, Yi Qinfeng quickly slashed out with a sword. 55 sword Dao patterns transformed into 9 fire dragons that bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they slashed at Mo Wuong. Biar, exploding demonic saber. The 9 dragon bananas slashed out, and Mo Qianxin slashed out with his Sky Demon Dao weapon. The demonic saber, filled with explosive power, viciously slashed at the 9 flame dragon warships, forcibly breaking Yi Qinfeng's attack. Biar, there's something wrong with this Mo Qianxin. When he felt Mo Qianxin's sudden increase in strength, Yi Qinfeng raised his eyebrows as he sensed that something was amiss. Even Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu had astonished expressions on their faces. They were astonished. Mo Qianxin, who was usually a man of few words, actually had such frightening strength. He was even stronger than Mo Wuong. Biar, who exactly are you? Yi Qinfeng frowned as he looked at the mysterious Mo Qianxin. He coldly said, "Are you Mo Qianxin or Mo Fengyan?" Demon Storm. Hearing Yi Qinfeng's words, Yu Bingyu felt incredulous. She looked at Mo Qianxin in disbelief. Biar, I am whoever you say I am. A strange smile appeared on Mo Qianxin's face as a surge of demonic qi erupted from his body. In an instant, Mo Qianxin's strength surpassed the limit of the defiant Beast King and reached the 2nd rank. Biar, Yu Zhongtian, Yu Bingyu. Now is the best time to kill him. Once the secret technique to increase his strength disappears, he should have a period of weakness. When that time comes, his life and death will be in our hands. Mo Qian's eyes flashed. Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu, who were thinking of retreating, spoke in a loud voice. It was also because Mo Qianxin felt that Yi Qinfeng's secret method of forcefully increasing his strength would not last for long that he was willing to reveal his greatest secret and true strength, and he used all his strength to kill Yi Qinfeng. Biar, who exactly are you? Yu Zhongtian's gaze was solemn and mysterious. Mo Qianxin, who made him feel uneasy, asked loudly. At this moment, Yu Zhongtian felt as if he was in the middle of a conspiracy. It was extremely uncomfortable. Biar, I am Mo Qianxin's clone. If you are willing to help me kill Yi Qinfeng, we will split the secrets and opportunities on his body equally. In order to convince Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu, Mo Qianxin had no choice but to reveal his secret. Biar, Mo Qianxin's clone. After knowing Mo Qianxin's identity, Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu's hearts were in turmoil. They had never dreamed that Mo Qianxin would have Such a method to have his clone hide beside them and wait for an opportunity to make a move. BR, what do you think? Looking at Yu Zhongtian and Mo Qianxin's flickering light, Mo Qianxin continued to bewitch them. This Yi Qinfeng definitely has a heaven-shaking secret on him. If we can obtain his secret, it is very likely that it will change our fate in the future. Wealth comes from danger. If we miss this opportunity, it will be difficult for us to kill him in the future. Sect Master Mo, can we believe your words? Yu Bingyu found that she was not Mo Qianxin at all. He had hidden too deeply. It was so deep that it made people afraid. BR, you are the genius disciples of the Yu family, and I have always respected the Yu family. With this relationship, do you think I will harm you? Mo Qianxin asked back. BR, okay, we will bet. If we can't kill Yi Qinfeng today, he will definitely become our nightmare in the future. Yu Zhongtian took a deep breath and made up his mind. Mo Qianxin, Yu Zhongtian, and Yu Bingyu reached a consensus in an extremely short period of time. Yi Qinfeng wielded his king armament and attacked Mo Qianxin, wanting to kill this potential threat. BR, attack! Mo Qianxin roared and charged forward with the Sky Demon Dao weapon. He clashed with Yi Qinfeng head-on, and terrifying attacks swept out in all directions. BR, Black Demon Venerable Talisman, burn! A black talisman lit up in Yu Zhongtian's hand, summoning the Black Demon Venerable that was comparable to a level 3 Beast Emperor expert. It carried a soaring demonic aura and attacked Yi Qinfeng, launching a fatal attack. BR, Yu Zhongtian, this should be your ultimate trump card. Suddenly attacked by the Black Demon Venerable, Yi Qinfeng did not panic. The vermilion bird cauldron flew out of his body and released a scorching hot energy, suppressing the Black Demon Venerable with the force of Mount Tai. BR, boom! The vermilion bird cauldron suppressed the Black Demon Venerable, and a destructive power immediately erupted, ruthlessly suppressing the Black Demon Venerable. The terrifying power pressed his strong legs into the hard ground. Being suppressed by the vermilion bird cauldron, the Black Demon Venerable roared in anger and immediately counterattacked, continuously releasing demonic aura to attack the vermilion bird cauldron, wanting to shake it off. But under the amplification of the vermilion bird soul, the suppression of the vermilion bird cauldron became stronger and stronger, and a large number of cracks spread throughout the Black Demon Venerable's body. BR, Great Demon slaying Dragon Blade. The eye cauldron was about to seriously injure the Black Demon Venerable. Mo Qianxin slashed with the Sky Demon Dao weapon, and the demonic, dragon-like blade slashed fiercely on the vermilion bird cauldron. BR Guang. A powerful rebounding force sounded from the vermilion bird cauldron, resisting Mo Qianxin's attack head-on, and the surface of the vermilion bird cauldron vibrated intensely. BR, Scarlet Thunder Pearl. The eye cauldron was shaken, and the Black Demon Venerable escaped under Mo Qianxin's all-out attack. Yi Qinfeng shot out the quasi-Dao weapon Scarlet Thunder Pearl in time, bombarding the Black Demon Venerable's chest. Like a storm, the violent thunder of death poured out from the Scarlet Thunder Pearl, frantically destroying the Black Demon Venerable and aggravating his injuries. BR, Sky Demon Dance. The Black Demon Venerable was constantly being destroyed. Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu both condensed demonic shadows, holding terrifying demonic weapon phantoms, and launched a tide-like attack at Yi Qinfeng. But Yi Qinfeng, who used the life spirit technique and burned his life force, was too terrifying. Not only were the two demonic shadows unable to harm Yi Qinfeng at all, they were torn apart by him instead. BR, Sky Demon Slash of the 10 Directions. Yi Qinfeng relied on absolute attacks to break through Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu's attacks. Mo Qianxin used his ultimate killing move, and the will of the great Dao gushed out of the Sky Demon Dao weapon, turning into a cross that cut through the dome of heaven and slashed towards Yi Qinfeng. BR, the heavenly Dao is merciless, break. The sky demon slash of the 10 directions attacked, and Yi Chen-feng once again blasted out his maximum limit of 8 heavenly Dao patterns, which transformed into heavenly Dao patterns and blasted forward, breaking Mo Qinxin's ultimate killing move in one fell swoop. BR, Vermilion Bird Cauldron, Scarlet Thunder Pearl, destroy. After breaking through the attacks of Mo Qinxin and the other two, Yi Chen-feng spat out a mouthful of blood and fused it into the Vermilion Bird Cauldron, rapidly increasing its attack power. BR. The Black Demon Venerable let out a painful howl as the Vermilion Bird Cauldron, whose power increased exponentially, completely crushed the Black Demon Venerable's huge body. At this time, the Scarlet Thunder Pearl released endless thunder of death, which penetrated his body like a tide, destroying him in one fell swoop. Please give me a red packet. This book came from /book/html/30/30709/indexmal. Chapter 628. Sect Patriarch Mo, are we still going to persist? When the Black Devil Lord was destroyed by Yi Chen-feng's 2 Dao artifacts, Yu Zhongtian became fearful. After losing his final trump card, his situation became very dangerous. It was very likely that he would be killed by Yi Chen-feng mercilessly. Persist. I don't believe that he can increase his strength without limit. He will definitely have a period of weakness. Mo Qinxin gritted his teeth and persisted bitterly. He constantly executed powerful Dao techniques to attack Yi Chen-feng, exhausting the life force surging in Yi Chen-feng's body. 7 layers of slaughter halo, 15 million gene of force erupt. Facing Mo Qinxin's tide-like attacks, Yi Chen-feng didn't show any signs of weakness. The surging slaughter force and 15 million gene of force poured into his fists, shaking the space as he attacked Mo Qinxin and the others with terrifying strength. Mo Qinxin had been refined by Mo Fengyin for hundreds of years and had completely transformed into a human form. His body was far superior to ordinary people. However, when facing Yi Chen-feng's fists that were comparable to extreme heaven artifacts and filled with 15 million gene of force, he still couldn't resist. Bingyu, let's burn our blood essence for one last fight. If we can't severely injure Yi Chen-feng within 15 minutes, we will immediately leave this place. Yu Zhongtian steeled his heart and transmitted a message. All right. Yu Bingyu nodded. She burned her blood essence to the maximum extent and raised her strength to the peak for one last fight. At the next moment, Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu took the risk and approached Yi Chen-feng. They wielded powerful heaven artifacts and coordinated with Mo Qinxin's ferocious attacks to suppress Yi Chen-feng's attacks. 7 swords of judgment, extreme cold. As Yi Chen-feng defended against Mo Qinxin and the other two's attacks, his life force surged as he soared into the air. 55 sword Dao patterns shot out from his body, transforming into the power of extreme frost that froze the space and attacked Mo Qinxin and the other two. 7 swords of judgment, lightning devour, waning moon, eclipse sun, and collapse the heavens. When Mo Qinxin and the other two shattered the sword of extreme frost, Yi Chen-feng executed the 7 swords of judgment in succession. The terrifying sword of lightning, sword of waning moon, sword of eclipse, and sword of heaven collapse intertwined with each other. The terrifying attacks shook the 9 heavens, destroying Mo Qinxin and the other two's attacks and destroying their bodies. Mother ***, what kind of secret technique is Yi Chen-feng using? Why doesn't he show any signs of weakening after attacking for so long? After fighting for an incense stick's worth of time, Mo Qinxin discovered that Yi Chen-feng was becoming fiercer and fiercer as he fought, showing no signs of weakening. However, his arms had been shaken to the point of almost losing all feeling, and his entire body was covered in crisscrossing cracks. He was heavily injured. In the middle of the moon, Yu Bingyu also had thoughts of retreating. She didn't dare to stay for long and wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. However, Yi Chen-feng did not give them the chance to leave. He controlled the 3 heavenly spirits and the 2 Tao treasures to continuously launch ferocious attacks, attacking them with all his might. Roar! At this moment, a painful roar sounded in the chaotic sky. The sword spirit puppet took advantage of the fact that the black praying mantis was heavily injured and had a slow reaction to slash out with a thunderous sword, ruthlessly slashing the black praying mantis's slender neck. The terrifying Emperor Heaven's sword almost severed Black Mantis's neck, causing a large amount of blood to spurt out. Mother Asterisker, who created this puppet? The demon used all his skills to attack, but he was unable to harm the sword puppet at all. Meanwhile, his and Black Mantis's injuries were getting worse and worse, and their lives were hanging by a thread. Helpless, the severely injured demon and Black Mantis decisively gave up on attacking the sword puppet and fled out of the collapsed shrine. Bingyu, let's go. Break out with all our might. When the severely injured Yu Zhongtian and the others saw that the demon and Black Mantis were escaping, their expressions changed as they decisively turned and fled. Isn't it too late for you to escape now? Yi Qinfeng's body flashed like a shooting star and intercepted them. He wanted to cooperate with the sword puppet and kill them all. 10 directions, heavenly devil slash. Mo Qianxin roared as he gripped the heavenly devil Dao weapon with both hands and unleashed a cross-shaped sword slash that tore through space and slashed toward Yi Qinfeng, wanting to force him to retreat. 7 swords of judgment, heaven crumbling. The slash of the heavenly demon of the 10 directions whistled through the air, but Yi Qinfeng did not dodge. Countless wills of the great path gushed out of his body, transforming into a sword of will that slashed at the slash of the 10 directions with devastating force. The terrifying might of the sword shattered the slash of the 10 directions, and the remaining force of the attack continued on to Mo Qianxin. Devil's Shadow Fiery Light. At this critical moment, Mo Qianxin's entire body ignited as he transformed into a fiery shadow that charged toward the heaven-crumbling sword. Boom! The remaining power of the heaven-crumbling sword ruthlessly struck Mo Qianxin's body, splitting the fiery shadow apart. Large amounts of fiery light flickered in Yi Qinfeng's eyes. Relying on his powerful physical defense to withstand the remaining power of the heaven-crumbling sword, Mo Qianxin did not slow down at all. He broke through Yi Qinfeng's obstruction and fled with all his might. The heavenly Tao is merciless. The instant Mo Qianxin broke through the obstruction, 8 heavenly Tao inscriptions transformed into heavenly Tao inscriptions that blasted forward. He wanted to heavily injure Mo Qianxin and kill this clone of his. Buzz! 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 Just as the heavenly Tao was about to strike Mo Qianxin's body, array talismans appeared around him, forming layers of defensive light barriers that forcibly blocked the heavenly Tao inscriptions. This Mo Qianxin is indeed not easy to kill. Mo Qianxin used a large number of defensive array talismans to block the heavenly Tao inscriptions. He flew faster and faster, farther and farther away. Yi Qinfeng, who did not have much life force left, sighed helplessly. He cast his gaze in 2 different directions, toward Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu, who were fleeing in panic. Due to their heavy injuries, Yu Zhongtian and Yu Bingyu's speed was greatly reduced. Yi Qinfeng glanced in the direction that the 2 of them were fleeing. He decisively increased his speed and chased after Yu Zhongtian. He wanted to kill him first to prevent any future troubles. Yi Qinfeng, I am a member of the Yu family. My grandfather is an elder of the Yu family. If you dare to harm my life, my grandfather will definitely not let you off. Sensing that Yi Qinfeng was getting closer and closer, Yu Zhongtian could smell the threat of death. He was like a frightened bird that had been startled by the twang of a bow. He had no choice but to use the Yu family's name to pressure Yi Qinfeng. Yu Zhongtian, I originally thought that you were a great person. However, I didn't expect you to be so spineless. A person like you, who doesn't have a firm heart in the martial way, is not worthy to reach the peak of the martial way. Let me send you into the cycle of reincarnation earlier. Yi Qinfeng was unmoved as he spoke with killing intent. Yi Qinfeng, if you are willing to let me off, I can agree to any of your requests. Even if you want my Yu family's inheritance, I can do it. Yu Zhongtian kept throwing out huge temptations, begging Jiang Yi to spare his life. Not interested. Yi Qinfeng was never merciful to his enemies, even if Yu Zhongtian had a terrifying background. Dual extreme ancient heavenly water, freeze. When he was within attacking range, Yi Qinfeng blasted out the dual extreme ancient heavenly water and attacked Yu Zhongtian, who was severely injured and was flying slower and slower. Crack! After being attacked by the dual extreme ancient heavenly water, a large amount of ice instantly froze Yu Zhongtian's body and greatly slowed his flying speed. In the next moment, a blinding sword light lit up the horizon. It was mixed with several Dao intents. It was like a meteor that had fallen to the mortal world. It split the sky and slashed towards Yu Zhongtian, who was screaming in fear. Qi! Yu Zhongtian's body was split open by the flying immortal sword and turned into flesh and blood. The top genius of the Yu family, Yu Zhongtian, was killed by Yi Qinfeng after Mo Wang. Mobile reading site. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the Save button below to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 6, 29. Sword Puppet, let's go. After killing Yu Zhongtian, Yi Qinfeng, whose life force was almost depleted, did not continue to pursue. He kept Yu Zhongtian and Mo Wuang's belongings and kept the almost depleted sword puppet back into his body. He quickly flew away from the ruins of the shrine and found a hidden pool. He killed the heavenly beast hiding at the bottom of the pool and hid inside to recuperate. Roughly 3 days later, Yi Qinfeng healed his injuries and recovered his depleted soul power. He took out the Emperor Heaven Sword, which was a Dao artifact, and controlled the God-Eater brain to deduce the 5 sword Dao patterns in the sword case. In just one day, Yi Qinfeng had comprehended 5 sword Dao patterns in the Emperor Sky sword's case. His sword Dao intent had reached the 6th level of the heavenly sword realm. Borrowing the power of the 60 sword Dao patterns, Yi Qinfeng would be able to unleash the power of an extreme heaven artifact, even if he used the most ordinary earth artifact. I wonder what treasures Mo Wang and Yu Zhongtian have in their universe rings. Yi Qinfeng took out Mo Wang and Yu Zhongtian's belongings and controlled the God-Eater brain to break the restrictions in the universe rings and infiltrate them. Heaven Artifact Blood Skull, Extreme Heaven Spear, 18 stalks of Heaven Tier Spiritual Herbs. Yi Qinfeng's soul spirit entered Yu Zhongtian and Mo Wuang's universe rings. He found large amounts of soul elixirs, soul crystals, heaven and earth spirit herbs, and Heaven Tier spiritual artifacts. This included Mo Fingyun's Heaven Artifact Blood Skull, and the extreme heaven spear that Yu Zhongtian obtained from the 100 Miles tombs. There are 2 low heaven crystals. At the end of the inspection, Yi Qinfeng unexpectedly found 2 low heaven crystals in Yu Zhongtian's universe ring. These 2 low heaven crystals were most likely obtained from the 100 Miles tombs. Sword Puppet Fuse. Yi Qinfeng summoned the sword puppet and fused with the 2 low heaven crystals, greatly replenishing the sword puppet's depleted energy. However, because the quality of the 2 low heaven crystals was not high enough, the sword puppet strength was affected to a certain extent after the fusion. It could only reach the level of a level 6 beast emperor. However, it was enough for Yi Qinfeng to protect himself. If I'm not mistaken, there should be a black divine palace in the dragon abyss that's suppressing the head of that demon. Yi Qinfeng exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and kept the 2's belongings into his universe mirror. Then he emerged from the dark pool and hesitated whether he should continue to search for the divine palace that suppressed the demon's head. Although releasing the demon's head would make his situation more dangerous, Yi Chen-feng had the sword puppet, so he still had a fighting chance. Furthermore, Yi Chen-feng felt that there was still a great opportunity in the Dragon Abyss. Coupled with the temptation of the Emperor's celestial sword, he decided to take the risk and search for the fourth black divine palace that suppressed the demon's skull. He wanted to fight for an even greater opportunity in the Dragon Abyss. Ghost soldiers, ghost generals. Not long after Yi Chen-feng flew out of the dark pool, he realized that there was a large number of spear-wielding ghost soldiers and ghost generals that were riding ghost beasts. They were roaming in the Dragon Abyss. At this moment, the ghost soldiers and ghost generals that were emitting a thick death aura discovered Yi Chen-feng. They let out a bone-chilling wail and surged towards him like a tidal wave. They wanted to kill him and devour his flesh and blood. Extreme ancient heavenly lightning, black flame heavenly fire, open up a path. The extreme yang heavenly lightning and heavenly fire were the nemesis of ghosts. As the tidal wave of ghosts surged over, Yi Chen-feng immediately summoned the extreme ancient heavenly lightning and black flame heavenly fire. They revolved around his body and formed a powerful lightning and fire whirlpool that swept towards the incoming ghost soldiers and ghost generals. Instantly, a large number of ghosts were shredded. And why are there so many ghosts in the Dragon Abyss all of a sudden? Yi Chen-feng controlled the two heavenly spirits to bombard the ghosts for half an incense's time. He realized that the number of ghosts in the Dragon Abyss did not decrease. Instead, there were more and more of them. The dense death aura was extremely oppressive and uncomfortable. Sensing that the ghosts in the Dragon Abyss would not be finished in a short period of time, Yi Chen-feng immediately released the soul power in his mind and searched for a direction with fewer ghosts. He was prepared to break out of the encirclement and leave. Northwest, there are fewer ghosts there. After sensing for a while, Yi Chen-feng unexpectedly realized that the number of ghosts in the northwest was obviously less than the other directions. He did not think much and flew over there without hesitation. Wrath of divine punishment. After being obstructed by a large number of ghosts, the three heavenly spirits quickly fused together and formed a tricolored ball of light that was filled with destructive power. It crushed everything in the void and pressed forward with indomitable will, destroying the ghosts in a frenzy. Soon enough, Yi Chen-feng, who had continuously used the wrath of divine punishment, killed his way out of the encirclement. He arrived at the northwest direction and quickly broke out of the encirclement. Screech! Yi Chen-feng killed his way out of the encirclement. The densely packed ghosts continuously let out angry cries as they chased after Yi Chen-feng. It was as if they would not give up until they killed him. Strange! Why are there so many ghosts in the other directions besides the northwest? Could it be that these ghosts are doing it on purpose? Is there some great danger in the northwest? After flying for a while, Yi Chen-feng felt that something was wrong. He had a feeling that these ghosts chasing after him were doing it on purpose. Their goal was to drive him to a certain place in the northwest. In order to confirm his guess, the God-Eater brain's soul power completely radiated out and continuously extended to the northwest. Soon, the rapidly released soul power detected a powerful array pattern energy in the northwest direction. Indeed, there is a problem in the northwest. Yi Chen-feng frowned slightly and muttered to himself. Could it be that these ghosts are under the control of the devil and are purposely forcing me to that restriction? The fourth shrine in the Dragon Abyss is hidden in that restriction. Thinking of this possibility, Yi Chen-feng, who had something to rely on, did not slow down. The golden rock's wings rapidly flapped, creating a gust of wind as he flew towards the restriction in the distance. That is the fourth shrine. Flying outside the restriction, hidden in space, Yi Chen-feng discovered that above the scarlet clouds, there was a black shrine that occupied an area of several dozen miles. It was devouring light and emitted an ancient aura. It seems like my guess was right. This is all part of the devil's scheme. Looking at the black divine palace in the sky, Yi Qinfeng's guess was confirmed. That ferocious demon was hiding in the endless tide of ghosts, controlling these ghosts to force him out of the fourth divine palace. After exposing the demon's scheme, Yi Qinfeng didn't back down. Without hesitation, he walked into the formation runes. In the next moment, Yi Qinfeng discovered that the scene in front of him had changed. The black shrine sitting in the scarlet clouds had disappeared, and in its place was a six-pointed star formation that enveloped the void and emitted a powerful pressure. What a terrifying suppressive force! It seems that the devil's head suppressed by the fourth shrine is not to be underestimated. Otherwise, the surroundings of the fourth shrine would not be so terrifying. Yi Qinfeng looked at the slowly flowing six-pointed star formation that had experienced the vicissitudes of time. He could not help but reveal a dignified expression as he pondered whether it was worth the risk. Only by being fearless can one prove their Tao. The more dangerous a place is, the more likely it is to have a great opportunity. If I can't obtain a great opportunity in the Dragon Abyss and increase my strength, once the Dragon Abyss closes and I am transported outside, my situation will become even more dangerous. Thinking of Mo Fengyan, Yu Qinyuan, and the others guarding the Dragon Abyss, Yi Qinfeng knew that he had no other choice. He steeled his heart and decided to take the risk and enter the mysterious fourth shrine. After making the decision, Yi Qinfeng took a deep breath. His entire body was like an arrow that had left the bow. He soared into the sky and rapidly approached the slowly flowing six-pointed star formation. When Yi Qinfeng rushed towards the six-pointed star formation, the devil and the black praying mantis that were hiding in the ghost tide appeared. They looked at Yi Qinfeng, who was soaring into the sky, and revealed a strange smile. Mobile reading site. Book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 630. Xianming Extreme Tao Break. Yi Qinfeng flew to the bottom of the six-pointed astral array at an alarming speed. He immediately unleashed his Tao intent and formed the Xianming Extreme Tao Force that was like a raging dragon. He then struck the six-pointed astral array heavily. Rumble. After being attacked by the Xianming Extreme Tao, a thunderous sound rang out from the six-pointed astral array. Countless array patterns appeared in the six-pointed astral array and connected with one another. 6 star pearls were formed at the 6 corners of the array. In the next moment, the 6 star pearls fell and attacked Yi Qinfeng with blinding starlight. Emperor Celestial Sword Break. The 6 star pearls flew over uniformly. Yi Qinfeng immediately drew his Emperor Celestial Sword and unleashed a force of 14 million kilograms as he pierced it with all his might. When the unstoppable Emperor Celestial Sword pierced the first star pearl, a force that made Yi Qinfeng feel suffocated was unleashed from the star pearl. It passed through the Emperor Celestial Sword and into Yi Qinfeng's arm. Although the Emperor Celestial Sword had neutralized 90% of the star pearl's force, the remaining 10% still caused Yi Qinfeng's arm to feel numb. Wind riding technique. After experiencing the power of the star pearls formed by the 6-pointed astral array, Yi Qinfeng did not dare to take a head-on. He quickly twisted his body and turned into an unpredictable hurricane. He moved around in mid-air and dodged the attacks of the other 5 star pearls. Yi Qinfeng relied on his unpredictable speed to dodge the attacks. The 6 star pearls seemed to have a life of their own as they chased after Yi Qinfeng and pierced through his body. Dragon's bloodline burn. Yi Qinfeng had no choice but to burn his dragon's bloodline. He instantly increased his soul power by 3 times and formed 7 killing halos to retaliate with all his might. Sword Dao intent, level 6 heaven, break. As the dragon's bloodline burned, 60 sword Dao patterns surged out of Yi Qinfeng's body. They surged into the Emperor Celestial's sword along with the 7 killing halos and struck a star pearl that was close to him. The Emperor Celestial's sword fused with 60 sword Dao patterns, and its attack power instantly reached an extremely terrifying level. When it struck the star pearl, the sword Dao intent immediately penetrated the star pearl and shattered it. After shattering a star bead, Yi Qinfeng continued to attack. The Emperor Heaven Sword was fused with 60 sword Dao patterns and was unstoppable. The remaining 5 star beads couldn't withstand the ferocious attacks of the Emperor Heaven Sword and shattered one by one. 7 swords of judgment, eclipse. After forcefully shattering the 6 star pearls, Yi Qinfeng rushed straight up. A crimson sword of light, which looked like a scorching sun, broke out of his body. Mixed with the will of the great Tao, it tore apart the space and heavily hacked into the center of the 6-pointed star formation. Under the amplification of the great Tao will and the Emperor Celestial Sword, the Sword of Eclipse was extremely terrifying. It was enough to instantly kill a grade 1 combat beast emperor. However, when it struck the hexagram array, it merely caused a slight tremor but was unable to crack it. Rumble! Just as Yi Qinfeng was astonished by the power of the hexagram array, the restless hexagram array started to circulate rapidly. Tens of thousands of array patterns gathered rapidly and formed a dazzling river of stars, which swept towards Yi Qinfeng. Heaven Dao's Heartless! The river of stars, which was flickering with white light, surged over. 6 Heaven Dao patterns shot out from Yi Qinfeng's body and transformed into the might of the Heaven Dao. Boom! 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 A series of deafening explosions rang out as the Heaven Dao's Heartless and the river of stars clashed, creating boundless sparks. In just 2 breaths of time, the Heaven Dao's Heartless formed by the 6 Heaven Dao patterns was broken by the river of stars formed by the hexagram array. The terrifying river of stars rushed downwards and continued to sweep towards Yi Qinfeng. Sword Puppet! After witnessing how terrifying the river of stars was, Yi Qinfeng decisively summoned the sword puppet and borrowed its strength to shatter the roaring river of stars. It seems like forcefully breaking the array is not a viable option. Yi Qinfeng discovered that the stronger his attack, the more terrifying the hexagram array's counterattack would be. Helpless, he gave up on the idea of forcefully breaking the array. He flapped his golden pung wings and flew in the air, controlling the God-Eater brain's power to radiate into the hexagram array. He was trying to deduce the array's core. At the same time, Mo Qianxin and Yu Bingyu, who had just escaped from Yi Qinfeng, gathered together. After witnessing Yi Qinfeng's shocking means and strength, Yu Bingyu didn't dare to find trouble with Yi Qinfeng. Instead, she prayed that she wouldn't encounter him in the Dragon Abyss to avoid any accidents. Mo Qianxin also gave up on the idea of killing Yi Qinfeng in the Dragon Abyss. After a discussion, he and Yu Bingyu flew carefully in the Dragon Abyss. While waiting for the Dragon Abyss to close, they also searched for other opportunities in the Dragon Abyss to increase their strength as much as possible. Days passed, and Yi Qinfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to deduce for 3 days. Finally, he managed to deduce the core of the hexagram array. Could this be a dragon's skull? After locking onto the hexagram array's core, Yi Qinfeng revealed an expression of deep shock. That was because his powerful soul had discovered a water tank-sized skull that was filled with a powerful dragon's aura. It was suppressing the array's core. And from the dragon's aura that this skull contained, it was very likely to be a dragon's skull. It was extremely precious. What extravagance to actually use a dragon's skull to lay down such a huge array. Just where did this Di Tian come from? Just how strong was he back then? After understanding how terrifying the hexagram array was, Yi Qinfeng was very curious about this Di Tian that Mo Qianxin spoke of. He really wanted to know just who this Di Tian was. Sword Puppet, help me break the array. After locking onto the hexagram array's core, Yi Chen Feng and the sword puppet soared into the sky. They quickly approached the hexagram array and attacked the array's core with all their strength. Roar! When the array's core was attacked, a deafening dragon's roar immediately sounded out from the hexagram array. A large number of array patterns gathered in the array's core and fused with the dragon skull that was suppressing the array's core. They condensed into a ferocious dragon's head that was emitting starlight. Sword puppet, you will be the main attacker. I will support you. Yi Chen Feng, who had comprehended many Dao intents, might have astonishing attacking power, but there was still a large gap between him and the sword puppet. In order to break the hexagram array in one fell swoop, he lent the Emperor's celestial sword to the sword puppet and ordered the sword puppet to use all its strength to destroy the dragon's head. Once the dragon's head was destroyed, the hexagram array's power would plummet. By then, Yi Chen Feng would have the opportunity to break this array and enter the fourth palace above the crimson clouds. Swish! The sword puppet held the Emperor's celestial sword and soared into the sky. It tore apart the starlight dragon's roar as it approached it and launched a fierce attack. Streaks of shocking sword light continuously slashed on the starlight dragon's head, forcibly splitting the dragon's head that was formed by countless array patterns. Vermilion bird cauldron. While the sword puppet was ferociously attacking the starlight dragon's head, Yi Chen Feng took out his Dao treasure, the vermilion bird cauldron, and spat out a mouthful of essence blood into the cauldron, activating the vermilion bird's soul and amplifying the vermilion bird cauldron's attacking power. It then struck the dragon's head like a meteor. Boom! 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 The instant the vermilion bird cauldron and the dragon's head clashed, a destructive energy spread out from the void, causing the entire void to distort on a large scale. It disrupted the array patterns in the hexagram array. Withstanding the destructive storm that was sweeping towards him, Yi Chen Feng took out his scarlet thunder pearl and controlled it to release boundless, deathly lightning, bombarding the dragon's head and the hexagram array. As the attacks became more and more intense, the starlight dragon's head was filled with cracks from the sword puppet's attacks. The hexagram array's power also decreased accordingly. Finally, the sword puppet was the main attacker, while Yi Chen Feng controlled his two Dao treasures to support him. After attacking ferociously for more than an hour, the terrifying dragon's head was finally destroyed. The hexagram array's power was also reduced to its limit. Hexagram array, break for me! Yi Chen Feng roared. The vermilion bird cauldron, the scarlet thunder pearl, and the sword puppet attacked the hexagram array's core together, tearing apart the hexagram array in one fell swoop, revealing the dragon's skull at the center of the array. Keep! Yi Chen Feng moved his mind and ordered the sword puppet to withstand the explosive power of the hexagram array. He kept the dragon's skull into his Qin Kuan ring. His body flashed, and he leaped through the torn hexagram array, penetrated the layers of red clouds, and flew to the Black Shrine. Mobile reading website. Book address. In order to facilitate your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 631. Majestic, lofty, sacred, and inviolable, standing below the fourth shrine. Yi Chen Feng felt a vigorous suppressive force rushing towards him. It made his heart palpitate and made him feel insignificant. Yen, what exactly is in this fourth shrine? Why is it emitting such a horrifying aura? Yi Chen Feng felt that the aura of the previous three shrines added together wasn't as terrifying as this fourth shrine. It must be extremely dangerous inside. The greatest opportunity in the Dragon Abyss might also be here. Fortune comes from danger. Let's go all out. Yi Chen Feng took a deep breath and stepped on the black stairs. He walked towards the majestic shrine without hesitation. He wanted to push open the heavy bronze door that was inlaid with two beast heads and enter. Whoa! When he reached the bottom of the shrine, Yi Qin-feng suddenly noticed a change in the scene in front of him. He realized that he had walked into a scorching space. A ball of black flame was floating in the void, releasing scorching energy that was burning the space. Heavenly fire. This shrine is actually protected by the heavenly fire. Looking at the heavenly fire in front of him, Yi Qin-feng's eyes lit up. If the black heavenly fire could merge with this ball of heavenly fire, it would be able to evolve. At that time, the power of the wrath of deity's punishment would reach the standard of a middle Tao technique. Those who approach without permission shall die. The black heavenly fire transformed into a human form. It looked coldly at Yi Qin-feng and spoke without a trace of emotion. Hearing the warning of the black heavenly fire, Yi Qin-feng was unmoved. He took heavy steps and walked over step by step. The aura he emitted was getting stronger and stronger, courting death. Seeing that Yi Qin-feng didn't listen to its advice, the black heavenly fire was instantly enraged. The flames that were filled with the power of the dead spirits transformed into a huge flaming hand. It swept up a scorching heat wave and slapped towards Yi Qin-feng, trying to kill him. Dual polar ancient heavenly water, break. The flaming hand slapped over. The dual polar ancient heavenly water shot out from Yi Qin-feng's body. It froze the void and clashed with the flaming hand that was descending from the sky. Extremely cold air seeped into the flaming hand. In the blink of an eye, the flaming hand was frozen in midair by the dual polarity ancient heavenly water. Damn it! You actually subdued a type of worldly water. Looking at the dual polar ancient heavenly water, the human figure formed by the black heavenly fire revealed a strong sense of hostility. The body of flames instantly transformed into a huge black fireball, dragging a black tail as it bombarded Yi Qin-feng. Scarlet lightning bead, break. The scarlet lightning bead flew out of Yi Qin-feng's mouth, crashing into the black fireball. In an instant, the scarlet lightning bead burst out, destroying the black fireball in a frenzy. The black fireball was riddled with holes, greatly damaging the black heavenly flames. Dual polarity ancient heavenly water, freeze! When the black heavenly fire was severely injured, the dual extreme ancient heavenly water released an extremely cold chi that froze the black heavenly fire's main body. With the dual polarity ancient heavenly water seeping into its body, the furious black heavenly fire activated the formation hidden in the space of flames. Instantly, the entire space was set ablaze. Waves of heat surged into the black heavenly fire, repairing the cracks in its body and increasing its power. Chaos divine would suppress the heavenly fire. Feeling the black heavenly fire's power rising steadily, Yi Qin-feng didn't waste any more time. He summoned the chaos divine wood, condensed dense 5-colored roots, and suppressed the black heavenly fire. No, what is this? Being suppressed by the chaos divine wood, the black heavenly fire was terrified. It kept compressing the power of flames, trying to incinerate the 5-colored roots that had seeped into its body. However, the chaos divine wood was its nemesis. No matter how the black heavenly fire burned, it couldn't incinerate the 5-colored roots. Slowly, the black heavenly fire's power weakened and was finally devoured by the chaos divine wood. Dead soul heavenly fire, the dead soul fire born from the extreme of death. It's a heavenly fire that has been nurtured for more than 100,000 years. When the chaos divine would devour the black heavenly fire, information about the black heavenly fire appeared in Yi Qin-feng's mind. Dead soul heavenly fire, black flame heavenly fire, fuse. With a thought, Yi Qin-feng borrowed the power of the chaos divine would to control the black flame heavenly fire and the dead soul heavenly fire to fuse and undergo a transformation. Without the dead soul heavenly fire, the heavenly fire great array that enveloped Yi Qin-feng had a drastic decrease in power. Finally, it was torn apart by the 60 sword Tao patterns controlled by Yi Qinfeng. After breaking the heavenly fire great array, Yi Qinfeng came to the hall door that was a few hundred feet tall. It was inlaid with 2 malevolent beast heads. He pushed the hall door with force and wanted to push it open to enter the mysterious divine hall. So heavy. Why is the door of this divine hall so heavy? Yi Qinfeng raised his strength to 5 million kilograms and tried to push the hall door with the beast heads, but he couldn't push it open. He immediately raised his strength to 10 million kilograms, but he still couldn't push the hall door open. 14 million kilograms of strength. Yi Qinfeng took a deep breath. The power of the 4 soul pearls burst out and pushed his strength to increase. The surging power surged in his body and poured into his arms. Finally, he pushed open a gap that was wide enough for one person to enter the divine hall that was filled with unknown dangers. Such a powerful suppression power. My cultivation level is actually being suppressed. After entering the divine hall, Yi Qinfeng felt a suffocating suppression power filling up the divine hall. It pressed down on his body ruthlessly and suppressed his cultivation level to that of a Class 1 reverse beast king. Even breathing became difficult for him. Yi Qinfeng took a deep breath and filled his body with 5 million kilograms of strength. He resisted against the overwhelming suppression power and walked into the divine hall with heavy steps. He realized that there was a light array floating above the divine hall. It was covered with array patterns and was rotating slowly. There are so many layers of defense just outside. Looking at the light array above, Yi Qinfeng revealed a grave expression. The heavenly fire was guarding the door, and the light array was protecting the front hall. All these signs indicated that this divine hall was extremely unusual. If not for the sword puppet, Yi Qinfeng wouldn't have the courage to enter this 4th divine hall. Vermilion bird cauldron break. Looking at the light formation above his head, Yi Qinfeng, whose strength was suppressed, took out the vermilion bird cauldron. He spat several mouthfuls of blood essence into the vermilion bird cauldron, awakening the soul of the vermilion bird. Then it crashed into the light formation in the air. Boom, boom, boom. A deafening explosion sounded. The vermilion bird cauldron and the light array in the void violently repelled each other. The powerful explosion swept through the divine hall, causing the void to distort. Scarlet Thunder Pearl. While the vermilion bird cauldron was attacking fiercely, Yi Qinfeng summoned the Scarlet Thunder Pearl and attacked the light array in the void, forcibly tearing cracks in the light array. Yi Qinfeng controlled the vermilion bird cauldron and the Scarlet Thunder Pearl to attack fiercely for more than an hour. With the help of the 2 great Tao treasures, he forcibly tore cracks in the light array in the void. Break! The light array in the void shattered. Yi Qinfeng spat out another mouthful of blood and merged it into the vermilion bird cauldron. It fiercely hit the heart of the light array in the void and blasted the light array in one fell swoop. After breaking the light array in the void, Yi Qinfeng saw a long corridor with a large number of ancient totems in the main hall. His body flashed and flew into the corridor. With the help of the Tao of Illusion, he broke through the illusions in the corridor and arrived at the central hall. When Yi Qinfeng held the moonlight stone in his hand and illuminated the central hall, a murderous aura that made him shudder surged forth and completely locked onto him, causing all the hairs on his body to stand on end. Mobile reading site, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. The next time you open the bookshelf, you will see it. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 632. Sword Formation. A sword formation formed by 4 great ominous swords. Yi Qinfeng realized that the austere aura that locked onto him came from the 4 great ominous swords that were in the center of the hall. The swords were completely submerged in the ground. And from the way these 4 swords of great ominous intertwined with each other, These 4 swords of great ominous seemed to have formed a powerful sword formation. Once he approached, he would suffer the ferocious attacks of this sword formation. Sword puppet, go and test the power of those 4 great ominous swords. Yi Qin-feng, whose strength was suppressed, did not act rashly. He summoned the sword puppet and ordered it to test the power of the sword formation formed by the 4 great ominous swords. Buzz! The sword puppet rapidly approached as the 4 great ominous swords let out ear-piercing sword cries. Austere sword aura surged out and cleaved towards the sword puppet with a force of 1,000 caddies. Quasi-Dao artifact. These 4 swords are actually all Quasi-Dao artifacts. The sword puppet relied on its indestructible body to block the sword aura attack from the 4 great ominous swords. Yi Qin-feng used the God-Eater brain senses to confirm that these 4 great ominous swords were actually all Quasi-Dao artifacts. Sword puppet, break this sword formation for me. Sensing that the sword formation in front of him was not to be underestimated, Yi Qin-feng immediately took out the Emperor Sky sword and threw it to the sword puppet so that it could use all its strength to break the formation. Emperor Sky sword, why is the Emperor Sky sword in your hands? When Yi Qin-feng threw the Emperor Sky sword to the sword puppet, a deep voice suddenly rang out in the central hall. A light sword that was slowly moving floated in the middle of the 4 great ominous sword formation. This is a sword spirit. Looking at the light sword that was drifting in front of him and feeling the soul spirit power in the light sword, Yi Qin-feng, who had a lot of inherited memories, immediately guessed that the light sword in front of him was most likely the Emperor Sky sword spirit. Did you release all the suppressed demonic bodies? A deep voice rang out from the light sword as it questioned loudly. Yi Qin-feng nodded and said, yes, other than the devil's heart and devil's skull, the other parts of that devil have already broken free and reformed. Looks like you're on the same side as that demon. Without waiting for Yi Qin-feng to finish speaking, the sword spirit became angry. He immediately controlled the 4 great ominous swords to attack Yi Qin-feng. Yi Qin-feng, whose strength had been greatly reduced, decisively ordered the sword puppet to block the 4 great ominous swords that were faster than the speed of light. He shouted, listen to my explanation. The reason why I release my demonic body is because I have a certain degree of confidence that I can eliminate him. You. The sword spirit said disdainfully. He continued to control the 4 great ominous swords to attack with all his might. He wanted to pierce through the sword puppet and kill Yi Qin-feng. Boss, he won't believe your explanation. Let's use force to convince him. The Chaos Divine Beast's voice rang out in Yi Qin-feng's mind. Sai, that's the only way. Thinking that he had no way to convince the Ditian sword spirit, Yi Qin-feng had no choice but to ignite his dragon's bloodline and increase his soul power by 3 times. He then transformed into a half-human, half-dragon beast soul form. The burning of his dragon's bloodline greatly reduced the influence of the Sacred Hall suppression on Yi Qin-feng. He wielded his king armament and attacked the Ditian sword spirit together with the sword puppet. He wanted to severely injure the Ditian sword and merge it into the Ditian sword, forcing it to recognize him as its master. For extreme sword formation, kill. As Yi Qin-feng and the sword puppet got closer, the Ditian sword spirit suddenly split into 4 and merged into the 4 great ominous swords. It instantly increased the prowess of the 4 great ominous swords and formed a terrifying 4 extremes sword formation. Countless sword shadows interweaved as they counterattacked rapidly. Half-moon sword slash. As the dense sword shadows attacked, the sword puppet instantly merged with the Ditian sword and slashed out a crescent-shaped sword arc. It split the sword shadows of the 4 extremes sword formation apart. Primordial chaos roar. As the tide-like sword shadows were destroyed, the primordial chaos divine beast immediately let out an earth-shattering roar. It exploded the layers of air and attacked the four great ominous swords at close range, attacking the sword spirit. Heartless heavenly Tao, extreme mystic Tao. As the primordial chaos divine beast let out the primordial chaos roar, Yi Chen-feng made his move at the same time. The prowess of the heavenly Tao and the extreme mystic Tao complemented each other, and the terrifying Tao intent broke the four extremes sword formation. Jinqing Dragon Bloodlion, quickly come out and help. After breaking the four extreme sword formation, Yi Chen-feng summoned the Jinqing Dragon Bloodlion and attacked together, preventing them from connecting with each other and forming a sword formation. As the four extreme sword formation was broken, its attacking prowess was greatly reduced. Seizing this opportunity, Yi Chen-feng, the sword puppet, and the two heavenly beasts attacked ferociously, trying their best to injure the sword spirit. For extreme sword formation, sword tornado. Under the bombardment of the destructive attacks, the sword spirit, who was under great pressure, forcibly controlled the four great ominous swords to revolve, forming a sword tornado that swept towards Yi Chen-feng and the others. Suzaku Cauldron, suppress. Faced with the sword tornado, Yi Chen-feng summoned the Suzaku Cauldron without hesitation. He controlled the Suzaku Cauldron to grow bigger and bigger, pressing down with the force of Mount Tai, forcefully breaking the sword tornado. Tao treasure, you actually have a Tao treasure. Witnessing the power of the Suzaku Cauldron, the sword spirit let out a low roar. He burned his soul energy at all costs, forcibly forming the four extremes sword formation and counterattacking with all his might. The sword spirit burned his soul energy, instantly increasing the attacking prowess of the four extremes sword formation. However, no matter how much the four extremes sword formation's prowess increased, it could not penetrate the sword puppet's defense. As the sword puppet resisted with all his might, Yi Chen-feng and the two heavenly beasts continued to launch thunderous attacks, distorting the void and bombarding fiercely. They broke the four extremes sword formation again and again, injuring the sword spirit. What kind of body is this? The Ditian sword spirit did not expect the sword puppet's defense to be so terrifying. Its indestructible body completely countered him, causing all his efforts and attacks to become meaningless. As time passed, the Ditian sword spirit's attacks, which were under immense pressure, became weaker and weaker. The sword spirit's injuries also became more and more serious. However, suppressing the central palace was its life's mission, and it could not retreat. Helpless, it could only continue to burn its soul energy at all costs, making a final effort. Four extremes sword formation, for extremes as one. As his soul energy burned, the sword spirit forcefully controlled the four great ominous swords to combine together, forming the four extreme swords that could split the heavens and earth. They slashed through the void and slashed towards the sword puppet, wanting to destroy the sword puppet, which posed the greatest threat. As long as the sword puppet was destroyed, Yi Chen-feng and the two level 8 heavenly beasts would not be a threat. As the four extreme swords slashed over, the sword puppet did not dodge. Instead, it held the Ditian sword and faced it head-on. Boom! The two attacks collided, and an earth-shattering explosion of energy erupted in the central hall. The impact caused cracks to appear on the coiling dragonstone pillars. 7 swords of judgment, sky-shattering, roar of chaos, strength of dragon lion. As the sword puppet clashed with the four extreme swords, Yi Chen-feng and the two heavenly beasts continued to unleash their strongest attacks. They continuously bombarded the four extreme swords and sent them flying. Vermilion bird cauldron, suppress. As the four great ominous swords fell to the ground, Yi Chen-feng controlled the vermilion bird cauldron to suppress them, suppressing them under the cauldron, making them unable to move. In the next moment, Yi Chen-feng forced out 4 drops of blood essence and shot them into the 4 great ominous swords. He forcefully recognized the severely injured and extremely weak sword spirits in the swords as their masters. Mobile reading website. Book address. To make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the bookmark button at the bottom to record your reading history. You will be able to see it the next time you open your bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blogs, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 633. And the Emperor's Sky, Sword Spirit, has refined my blood essence. Not long after Yi Qinfeng dripped his blood essence, he realized that the severely injured sword spirit had forcefully refined his blood essence and did not give him the chance to recognize him as the owner. I want to see how much of my blood essence you can refine. After the blood essence was refined, Yi Qinfeng controlled the vermilion bird cauldron to increase the suppression while he continued to drip his blood essence and forcefully made the 4 sword spirits of great ominous swords recognize him as the owner. The sword spirit was severely injured and was being suppressed by the vermilion bird cauldron. It was very strenuous for it to refine Yi Qinfeng's blood essence. Slowly, Yi Qinfeng's blood essence seeped into the sword spirit, and the sword spirit's resistance became weaker and weaker. Finally, it fused with Yi Qinfeng's blood essence. Emperor Sky Sword Spirit fuse. After forcefully making the Emperor Sky Sword Spirit recognize him as the owner, Yi Qinfeng immediately controlled the sword spirit to fuse with the Emperor Sky Sword. Buzz! 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 Ear-piercing sword cries echoed. When the sword spirit fused with the Emperor Sky Sword, the Emperor Sky Sword immediately changed. The offensive array patterns on the sword were constantly being repaired and increasing the attacking power of the Emperor Sky Sword. After about 5 minutes, the Emperor Heaven Sword and the sword spirit had completely fused together. The 3,680 offensive array patterns had been completely restored, and the Emperor Heaven Sword was restored to the middle, gray Dao artifact level. The 3 stances of the Emperor Heaven Sword art in the Emperor Heaven Sword were also completed. It has been restored. The Emperor Sky Sword has finally been restored to the intermediate Dao artifact level. Feeling that the Emperor Sky Sword's quality had improved, Yi Qinfeng revealed a trace of a smile. Although he was unable to unleash the full power of the Emperor Sky Sword with his current strength, with the sword spirit's amplification and the power of the Emperor Sky Sword itself, he was able to kill a rank 2 combat beast emperor. Sword spirit, come out quickly. I have something to ask you. The sword spirit had been suppressed in the 4th sacred palace for more than 100,000 years and knew a lot of secrets of the past. Yi Qinfeng kept the 4 sword of great ominous swords into the universal mirror and summoned the extremely weak sword spirit out. Master, what do you want to ask me? The sword spirit could not resist Yi Qinfeng's will after the blood recognition. It floated out of the Emperor Sky Sword and asked indifferently, "Tell me, who is that demon? And who sealed him here?" Yi Qinfeng asked in a low voice about the secrets of the Dragon Abyss. "You're not with that demon?" The sword spirit asked doubtfully. "I'm not on the same side as him. The demonic body I released to suppress him does indeed possess the power to destroy him." Yi Qinfeng shook his head and said, "All right, I'll tell you who that demon is. That demon comes from the heaven region and calls himself Demon Saint Cold Night. He's a 3-star Dao Saint. When he descended to the lower realms, he stirred up a storm of blood in the soul-fighting continent. He destroyed many sacred grounds and killed many geniuses. In the end, his bloody atrocities infuriated the old master, and he fought with him. However, Devil Sage Cold Night was too terrifying. Even with master's strength back then, he was unable to kill him. He had no choice but to sacrifice his contracted beast, the Azure Dragon. He borrowed the Azure Dragon's body to refine the Emperor's Celestial Sword for his entire life, severely injuring Devil Sage Cold Night. He suppressed his body and his contracted beast, the dark black mantis, in this place of two extremes of life and death. The sword spirit told Yi Qinfeng everything he knew about the devil. 3-star Dao Saint. Yi Qinfeng knew that Dao Saints were in the heaven domain realm. Although Dao Saints weren't strong in the heaven region, they could dominate the soul-fighting continent. Sword spirit, how strong was your master back then? Yi Qinfeng asked softly. He really wanted to know Di Tian's strength. Old Master Di Tian was the old deity emperor of the 9 heavens divine nation. He was one of the mainstays and was in the nirvana, heavenly realm. More than 100,000 years have passed. I wonder if Old Master has recovered from his injuries and torn open the heaven region gate to ascend to the heaven region. The sword spirit said with a sigh. Nirvana heavenly realm? What realm is that? After fusing with the God-Eater brain, Yi Qinfeng had a lot of inherited memories. However, this was the first time he heard of the Nirvana heavenly realm. The Nirvana heavenly realm isn't a true cultivation realm. It's a realm that a level 6 combat beast emperor failed to ascend to the heaven region. After his physical body was destroyed by the heaven region gate, he spent a lot of resources and borrowed the power of heaven's punishment to recultivate. The Nirvana heavenly realm is divided into Nirvana. The Nirvana heavenly realm corresponds to the 1-star Dao Saint, 2-star Dao Saint, and 3-star Dao Saint. However, it's extremely difficult to cultivate to the Nirvana heavenly realm. Not only do you need to gather a lot of rare treasures, you also need 1,000 years to transform and complete the Nirvana. Nirvana heavenly realm experts will be baptized by the Nirvana heavenly punishment every 1,000 years. Only by overcoming it can they extend their lives. However, in history, there were too many almighty experts that were annihilated by the Nirvana heavenly punishment. It's even more difficult for a Nirvana heavenly realm expert to tear open the heaven region gate again. In history, there were only a few Nirvana heavenly realm experts that managed to ascend to the heaven region. However, once a Nirvana heavenly realm expert ascends to the heaven region, his strength would far surpass an ordinary ascender, and he would directly break through to the 4-star Dao Saint. The sword spirit explained in detail. There's such a realm in the Duohan continent. It seems like my understanding of the Duohan continent is still too little. Yi Qinfeng muttered to himself. He didn't expect that a level 6 combat beast emperor wasn't invincible in the Duohan continent. The true overlords of the Duohan continent were the Nirvana heavenly realm experts. Master. Even the old master couldn't kill Devil Saint Cold Night when he was in the Nirvana heavenly realm. He could only suppress him. Are you sure you can destroy him? Once he escapes completely, there will be a bloodbath in the Duohan continent. Master, you will be condemned by history. The sword spirit reminded solemnly. Sword spirit, the 4th divine palace should be suppressing the devil's skull, right? Yi Qinfeng pondered for a moment and asked, I wonder what kind of treasure Senior Di Tian used to suppress the devil's skull. Are there any heaven crystals? The 4th divine palace doesn't only suppress the devil's skull, it also suppresses the devil Saint Cold Night's origin Dao spirit. In order to suppress them, Master moved a dragon blood tree, a soul-suppressing golden tablet, and set up a sealing array using the heart of the green dragon, 18 medium heaven crystals and 36 low heaven crystals. The sword spirit didn't hide anything. 18 medium heaven crystals and 36 low heaven crystals. Yi Qinfeng's eyes lit up. If the sword puppet fused with these heaven crystals, its strength would definitely surpass the Battle Beast Emperor and reach the heavenly domain Dao Saint realm. It would definitely have a chance to destroy the Devil's Skull and his Dao spirit. At that time, the devil body would be nothing to be afraid of. Even if there was an accident at the last moment and the Devil's Skull and Dao spirit escaped Devil Saint Cold Night, who had been suppressed for more than 100,000 years, wouldn't be able to recover to his peak state after losing his devil heart. The sword puppet would also have a chance to kill him. More importantly, Yi Chen-feng was very interested in the dragon blood tree and dragon heart that suppressed the devil skull and Tao spirit. If he could obtain these two treasures, his strength would increase greatly, especially the dragon heart. If he could refine it, it would definitely allow him to undergo an earth-shattering transformation. Sword spirit, seal the front hall. Then we will go and kill the devil skull and his Tao spirit. Yi Chen-feng took a deep breath and ordered. Master, have you really thought it through? The sword spirit asked. Yes. Yi Chen-feng nodded heavily and said with a firm tone. Aye, all right then. Let's fight to the death. The sword spirit couldn't resist Yi Chen-feng's thoughts and could only obediently follow his orders. It activated the hidden restriction in the shrine and forcefully sealed the shrine. Then it brought Yi Chen-feng through the restriction of the shrine and entered the depths of the shrine, where the devil's skull and Tao spirit were suppressed. Mobile reading site, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 634. After passing through the long and narrow corridor, Yi Chen-feng saw two stone doors that were engraved with dense ancient runes and gave off an ancient aura. 1. Master, the ultimate palace hall is in front. Devil Saint Cold Knight's head and Tao spirit are suppressed in the stone coffin in the ultimate palace hall. At this moment, the Di Tian sword spirit's voice rang out in Yi Chen-feng's mind. Come, let's go in. Yi Chen-feng knew that after entering the ultimate palace hall, he would once again experience a test of life and death. If he was not careful, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. However, he did not back down. He burst out with 5 million kilograms of strength and forcefully tore apart the ancient runes restrictions on the stone doors. He pushed open the stone doors and walked into the ultimate palace hall that had been sealed for more than 100,000 years. What a powerful qi and blood power. This is the dragon blood tree. Yi Chen-feng held onto the moonlight stone and walked into the ultimate palace hall. He immediately saw the dragon blood tree that was more than 10 meters tall. The tree trunk was covered with vein-like patterns. The dragon blood tree was rooted in 2 square black stone coffins that were engraved with multiplying ancient runes. The ground around the dragon blood tree was inlaid with 54 celestial crystals of various sizes, forming a terrifyingly powerful demon suppression formation. However, he did not see the most precious dragon heart. He guessed that Di Tian might have sealed the dragon heart in the stone coffin where Devil Saint Cold Knight's Tao spirit was, and suppressed it. Sword spirit, do you know the location of the array core of this demon suppression array? I am going to break this demon suppression array and take away these 54 heaven crystals. 1 Kanchuk. Although the 54 heaven crystals had been consumed for more than 100,000 years and did not contain half of the energy, they were still important to Yi Chen-feng. Once the sword puppet devoured them, his strength would immediately reach the level of a heaven domain Tao saint. I do not know. This demon suppression array was personally set up by the old master. I do not understand this demon suppression array. Di Tian's sword spirit replied. All right, I will deduce it myself and find the array core. Yi Chen-feng did not blindly walk into the demon suppression array that was set up by the 54 heaven crystals. Instead, he sat cross-legged outside the array and controlled the God-Eater brain's power to seep into the demon suppression array and forcefully deduce the location of the array core. Buzz, buzz, buzz. When the God-Eater brain forcefully deduced the demon suppression array, the heaven crystal suddenly lit up. The blinding light was so bright that one could not open their eyes. Master, quickly stop. If you don't stop, your soul will probably be torn apart and destroyed by the soul-suppressing power formed by the 54 heaven crystals. Sensing the soul-suppressing power that was suddenly formed in the soul-suppressing array, The Ditian sword spirit sensed danger and urged anxiously. However, Yi Qinfeng turned a deaf ear to Ditian's sword spirit's warning. He continued to control the God-Eater brain and tried his best to weaken the soul-suppressing array's prowess to create an opportunity for the sword spirit puppet to devour. Buzz. One Kanshuk God-Eater soul. Defense at this critical moment. The God-Eater brain appeared in Yi Qinfeng's mind. It formed a large amount of devouring power and directly devoured the soul-suppressing white light. Yeah, I'm fine. When the Ditian sword spirit saw that Yi Qinfeng had taken the attack of the soul-suppressing light head-on and that he was fine apart from blood flowing out of his 7 orifices, he revealed a look of disbelief. This was because even it didn't dare to face the soul-subduing light head-on. However, Yi Qinfeng, who was a 4th-level Defiant Beast King, was able to withstand the soul-subduing light. Who? Yi Qinfeng took a deep breath and stabilized his restless soul. He continued to control the God-Eater brain to deduce the soul-suppressing array. At this time, the soul-suppressing grand array condensed another soul-suppressing light and attacked Yi Qinfeng. However, Yi Qinfeng had the God-Eater brain guarding his soul sea. No matter how the soul-suppressing grand array attacked, it couldn't injure or tear his soul apart. It's too terrifying. What exactly is in his head? He can actually ignore the attacks of the great soul suppression array. The Ditian sword spirit was completely stunned by the scene in front of him. He realized that Yi Qinfeng was far stronger than he had imagined. For the first time, he had hope that Yi Qinfeng would be able to kill Devil Saint Cold Night. And the array core of the soul-suppressing grand array is that dragon blood tree. While enduring the attacks of the soul-suppressing grand array, Yi Qinfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to deduce for more than 2 hours. He finally deduced the truth. The array core of the soul-suppressing grand array, which was formed by 54 heaven crystals, was that dragon blood tree that was suppressing the 2 black stone coffins. Sword puppet, attack with me. After locking onto the array core, Yi Qinfeng immediately summoned the sword puppet and ordered it to hold the Emperor Heaven's sword and attack the soul-suppressing grand array with him. 7 swords of judgment, heaven crushing. The moment the sword puppet held the Emperor Heaven's sword and became one with the sword, it slashed towards the soul-suppressing grand array. Yi Qinfeng was multitasking. On one hand, he held the Quasi-Dao artifact, great ominous sword, and slashed out a heaven-crushing sword light that tore through space. On the other hand, he controlled the vermilion bird cauldron and the scarlet thunder pearl to attack with all their might. Yin. Facing the all-out attacks of Yi Qinfeng and the sword puppet, the blinding light from the 54 heaven crystals became more and more intense as they defended with all their might. The dragon blood tree at the array core also swayed and condensed a blood-red dragon shadow. It roared and attacked Yi Qinfeng, who was outside the array. Break! Before the blood-red dragon shadow attacked, the sword puppet used its body to block it while burning a large amount of energy from the heaven crystals. It held the Emperor Heaven's sword and slashed out a world-shaking sword attack. Together with the vermilion bird cauldron and the scarlet thunder pearl, it forcefully tore a small gap in the soul-suppressing grand array. Primal chaos divine would devour the dragon blood tree. After the gap appeared in the soul-suppressing grand array, Yi Qinfeng decisively summoned the primal chaos divine wood and struck it out. It passed through the rapidly collapsing gap and quickly approached the dragon blood tree. Sensing the primal chaos divine wood's approach, a large amount of destructive light appeared in the soul-suppressing grand array. It was like a meteor shower as it ferociously attacked the primal chaos divine wood, wanting to destroy it. However, the primal chaos divine wood was one of the strongest divine trees in the universe. The destructive power of the 54 heaven crystals was unable to destroy it. Enduring the attacks of the soul-suppressing grand array, the primal chaos divine would pass through the gap that Yi Qinfeng and the sword puppet had forcefully torn open and flew above the dragon blood tree. Following which, The dragon blood tree shot out 5-colored divine light and condensed, densely packed 5-colored roots that attacked the dragon blood tree with irresistible force. After being attacked by the 5-colored roots, the dragon blood tree immediately counterattacked. Numerous dragon shadows whizzed up and attacked the primal chaos divine wood. Although the dragon blood tree was strong, it could not be compared to the primal chaos divine wood. The two divine trees fiercely fought for 5 minutes in the soul-suppressing grand array. The primal chaos divine would gradually restrain the dragon blood tree and suppressed its attacks. The densely packed 5-colored roots also penetrated the dragon blood tree and crazily devoured the dragon blood tree's spiritual power, weakening its strength. Under the primal chaos divine wood's frenzied devouring, the dragon blood tree's lush tree crown started to wither. Large patches of withered branches and yellow leaves floated down. What is this? He actually has a spiritual item that can restrain the dragon blood tree. Seeing that the dragon blood tree, one of the best spiritual trees in the Duhan continent, was constantly withering and withering under the primal chaos divine wood's devouring, the sword spirit, who was using all his strength to strengthen the Emperor Sky Sword, was shocked once again. Perhaps he can really eliminate Demon Sage Cold Night. As more than half of the dragon blood tree's energy was drained, the soul-suppressing Grand Array's power also started to decrease. Yi Qinfeng and the sword puppet worked together and constantly tore open cracks in the soul-suppressing Grand Array. Finally, after the primal chaos divine would devour the dragon blood tree, it was fiercely attacked. The soul-suppressing Grand Array, which was full of cracks, was also destroyed. The 54 heaven crystals were completely exposed to Yi Qinfeng. Dear friends who want to read the latest chapters of this book, please come to the Yunlai Pavilion or visit me on your mobile phone. Mobile reading website, book address. To make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click on the bookmark button at the bottom to record this book. You will be able to read it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blogs, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 635. Sword Puppet Devour! The soul-suppressing array had been broken, and Yi Qinfeng immediately ordered the sword puppet to rush towards the 54 sky crystals of different sizes embedded in the ground. It quickly devoured them into its body and increased its strength. One Kanshuk Chaos Divine would come. While the sword puppet was devouring the sky crystals, Yi Qinfeng summoned the Chaos Divine wood and fused it into his body. Boom! The Chaos Divine wood took root in Yi Qinfeng's heart and immediately released a majestic energy that flowed through Yi Qinfeng's meridians and spread throughout his body. Chaos Divine Beast, golden clear dragon bloodlion, protect me! Feeling the power of the dragon blood coursing through his body, Yi Qinfeng decisively summoned his 2 heavenly beasts, ordering them to stand guard for him. Sitting cross-legged in the middle of the ultimate palace hall, he quickly circulated the soul-devouring incantation, refining the dragon blood in his body and raising his own power. While Yi Qinfeng was trying his best to refine the dragon blood in his body, he was multitasking. He took out the dragon skull bone that he had just obtained and threw it into the vermilion bird cauldron to quickly refine the dragon bone essence. In order to destroy Demon Saint Cold Night, Yi Qinfeng was prepared to grab this rare opportunity to break through to the rank 5 Defiant Beast King realm and cultivate the first stage of the God Change 9 transformations, Spirit Body Change, to the Perfection stage to increase his strength. Roar! 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 Just as Yi Qinfeng was enduring the pain from the dragon blood and circulating the soul-devouring art to quickly refine it, a series of ferocious roars rang out from the 2 square stone coffins. Roar! The terrifying sound reverberated through the 9 heavens, causing Yi Qinfeng's eardrums to throb painfully. The dragon blood tree had been devoured by the chaos divine wood, and the soul-suppressing array had been broken. The demon skull and Tao spirit, who had developed intelligence immediately sensed it and started to attack the stone coffins in an attempt to break free. At this moment, a golden, soul-suppressing tablet that was more than 100 feet tall fell from the top of the black hall and landed heavily on the two trembling stone coffins. At the center of the golden soul-suppressing tombstone was a bright, red heart the size of a water tank. It was filled with powerful dragon power and life force, and had fused with the golden soul-suppressing tombstone. Dragon heart. So the dragon heart is embedded in the soul-suppressing tablet. Looking at the dragon's heart embedded in the golden stone tablet, Yi Qinfeng felt his soul tremble. He felt that the dragon's heart in front of him was like a living mythical beast that could easily kill him. Dong dong dong! As the Devil Skull and Devil Saint Cold Knight's resistance grew stronger and stronger, the dragon heart began to beat. Every time it beat, the space around it would tremble, causing Yi Qinfeng's blood and energy to roil violently, making him feel extremely uncomfortable. Under the dual suppression of the heart of the dragon and the golden soul suppressing tablet, the resistance of the Devil Skull and Tao Spirit began to weaken. Finally, the two restless stone coffins calmed down. Whew! Yi Qinfeng took a deep breath and suppressed his surging blood and energy. He continued to circulate the soul-devouring art, refining the dragon blood that had spread throughout his body and almost caused his blood to explode. He was going all out to break through to the rank 5 reverse Beast King realm. The dragon blood tree was a first-rate spiritual item in the fighting soul continent. It had been growing for close to 200,000 years, and the dragon blood it contained was extremely terrifying. If Yi Qinfeng wasn't strong enough to withstand the impact of the dragon blood, his body would have exploded long ago. When the primal chaos divine would crazily pour the dragon blood into Yi Qinfeng's body, it was also absorbing the dragon blood and slowly growing. 5-colored divine leaves grew out one after another, and the terrifying primal chaos energy was constantly being nurtured. Just as Yi Qinfeng was in the depths of the ultimate palace, refining the power of the dragon's blood to break through to the 5th level of the Beast King realm, the demon and the black praying mantis appeared below the 4th divine palace, looking at it from afar. Master, do you think they will help you release the Devil Skull and Tao Spirit? The black praying mantis looked at the 4th divine hall that terrified it and asked the devil body in a low voice. The person can reconstruct the Emperor's Sky Sword. It must be related to that old fellow, Di Tian. Furthermore, he came here more than 100,000 years later. Apart from wanting to reconstruct the Emperor's Sky Sword, it is very likely that he wants the dragon heart and the dragon blood tree. Therefore, it is very likely that he will release my Devil Skull and Tao Spirit. Even if he gives up at the last moment, I still have a backup plan, the devil body said sinisterly. A backup plan? Master, do you think he has the power to restrain us? The black praying mantis, who was extremely intelligent, asked. So what if he has the power to restrain us? Even Di Tian couldn't kill us back then. How can a mere 4th rank defiant Beast King do that? As long as I reconstruct my demon body and fuse with my Tao Spirit, I'll be able to crush a mere junior like him to death with one hand. The demon body didn't put Yi Qinfeng in his heart at all and said ferociously, however, just in case, try your best to drive the dead creatures in the dragon abyss here. Once the soul-suppressing power in the divine hall disappears, my Devil Skull and Tao Spirit will be released. Immediately get those dead creatures to attack the divine hall and help me reconstruct my devil body, the devil body ordered. Time passed day by day. Under the command of the black praying mantis, tens of thousands of dead creatures gathered below the 4th divine hall. A dense aura of death permeated the void, causing the entire space to become oppressive. Just as the devil body was making thorough preparations, Yi Qinfeng, who was enduring inhumane torment and refining the dragon blood with all his might, finally made it through the most painful stage. The soul power in his body was also overflowing, and the two-headed Blood Dragon King had also reached the limit of his realm. Rank 5 Reverse Beast King Breakthrough. When the time was right, Yi Qinfeng compressed all his soul power to the limit and broke through the bottleneck of his realm in one fell swoop. Boom! The bottleneck of his cultivation base was broken, and an extremely boundless energy surged into his body like a tidal wave, greatly increasing his strength. In the blink of an eye, Yi Qinfeng's soul power had reached a terrifying level. His strength had nearly doubled, and his dragon bloodline had also advanced to rank 4. Once ignited, his soul power would increase by 4 times. If it was an ordinary rank 4 Reverse Beast King expert, after merging with the dragon blood, they would definitely be able to break through to rank 6 Reverse Beast King or even half-step Battle Beast Emperor. However, Yi Qinfeng had only broken through by 1 rank. It was enough to show how sturdy his foundation was and how terrifying his foundation was. As for the primal chaos divine wood, it had absorbed the majority of the dragon blood tree's energy and grew a little more. It had grown close to 100 5-colored divine leaves, and the tree had nurtured 33 strands of primal chaos force. Dragon bone energy fuse! After breaking through to the 5th grade Defiant Beast King realm, Yi Qinfeng didn't stop. He opened the lid of the vermilion bird cauldron, drawing out the dragon bone essence he had refined over the past few days. He swallowed it directly, wanting to cultivate his spirit body to the great circle of perfection in one go. After devouring the essence refined from the dragon skull bone, Yi Qinfeng's meridians, which had just been repaired by the life Tao pattern, were once again opened up by the boundless energy. Immense pain spread throughout his entire body. Divine 9 transformations condense speed. Enduring the immense pain, Yi Qinfeng quickly circulated the Divine 9 transformations and poured the dragon bone essence into his Heaven's Hall acupoint to condense the final spirit bead. Once he condensed the 5th spirit bead, his pure strength would reach 14 million kilograms. With the addition of his soul power, his strength would reach 18 million kilograms. When he transformed into his divine demon body, his strength would reach 40 million kilograms. He would be able to easily crush a rank 2 combat beast emperor. Under the rapid refinement of the Divine 9 transformations, more and more energy poured into Yi Qinfeng's Heaven's Hall acupoint. Slowly, a faintly discernible spirit bead appeared in his Heaven's Hall acupoint, greatly increasing his strength. Days passed by. Yi Qinfeng spent close to 3 days and finally managed to fuse the dragon bone essence and a small portion of the dragon blood into his Heaven's Hall acupoint. He condensed the 5th spirit bead in one fell swoop and cultivated the Divine 9 transformations, first stage to grand perfection. For those who wish to read the latest chapters, please visit the Gathered Cloud Pavilion or on your mobile phone. Mobile reading website, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the bookmark button at the bottom to record your reading history. You will be able to read it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 636. Phew, my spirit body has reached perfection. With his spirit body reaching perfection, Yi Qinfeng felt that his body was filled with explosive power. His physical defense had also increased and was infinitely close to the level of a supreme, grade heaven artifact. As for the sword puppet, it had swallowed 54 heaven crystals of different quality and had reached the level of a level 2 Tao Saint. It could easily kill a level 6 Beast Emperor expert with one strike. BR level 2 Tao Saint. Master, is he your clone? The Ditian sword spirit had followed Ditian for his entire life and was very accurate in determining one's strength. Through the aura that the sword puppet was emitting, he was able to determine his current strength and revealed a look of shock. BR, yes, he is my clone. The sword puppet could be considered as Yi Qinfeng's clone now that its consciousness was controlled by the soul devourer. BR, a level 2 Tao Saint clone. We really have a chance to kill demon Saint Cold Night. Dition's sword spirit finally knew what Yi Qinfeng was relying on. With a sword spirit puppet that was at the level of a second-level divine saint, they definitely had the chance to destroy the demon skull and Tao spirit before demon Saint Cold Night could reform his body. BR, sword spirit, can you communicate with the dragon heart and help me make it recognize me as its master? The sword spirit puppet's strength had increased greatly. Yi Qinfeng set his sights on the dragon's heart. He had a feeling that if he could refine this dragon's heart, it was very likely that he would be able to break through 6 levels consecutively. He would be half a step into the Beast Emperor realm and directly break through to the level 1 Beast Emperor realm. At that time, the chances of killing Demon Saint Cold Night would be greatly increased, and he wouldn't have to be afraid of facing a demon storm head-on. BR, let me try. The Dition sword spirit floated out of the Dition sword and slowly flew towards the dragon heart that was embedded in the golden soul suppressing tablet. He tried to communicate with the dragon heart that was causing the space to tremble. BR, dong dong dong. As the Dition sword spirit approached, the dragon heart suddenly beat faster. Every time it beat, it would cause a large amount of energy ripples to appear in the space and attack the Dition sword spirit, not giving him a chance to get closer. BR, I am the Azure Dragon. I am the sword spirit of Dition. The green dragon and Dition sword were the same. They had always followed Dition. Not only did they know each other, but they were also very familiar with each other. Hearing Dition sword's familiar voice, the remaining dragon soul in the dragon's heart was a little lost. BR, Azure Dragon, have you forgotten about me? We followed Dition and fought for our entire lives. In order to suppress the Devil Saint Cold Night, you and I were both destroyed in this land of 2 extremes of life and death. The dragon's heart had suppressed Devil Saint Cold Night's Devil Skull and Tao Spirit for more than 100,000 years. It had consumed a large amount of its soul and lost a lot of its memories. Dition's sword spirit could only slowly awaken its remaining memories. BR, Dition, sword spirit, Dition. I remember you. Aren't you controlling the 4 extreme lapels and guarding the front hall? Why did you bring an outsider to me? Slowly, the dragon soul thought of Dition's sword spirit and communicated with him spiritually. BR, he is my new master. The reason I brought my new master here is to eliminate Devil Saint Cold Night. I wonder if you are willing to help us? Dition's sword spirit asked. BR, sword spirit, your new master is too weak. Even with my help, it is impossible for him to eliminate Devil Saint Cold Night. You should ask him to give up on this idea. The dragon soul had already sensed Yi Qinfeng's true strength. It did not believe that he, a level 5 reverse beast king, could eliminate Devil Saint Cold Night, whom even Dition could not kill. BR, although my new master is not strong, he has too many secrets on him. Furthermore, he has reformed the Emperor Sky Sword. Perhaps it is related to my old master. More importantly, he has a level 2 Tao Saint clone. Dition's sword spirit continued to persuade. BR, a level 2 Tao Saint clone. The dragon's soul was moved. BR, yes, as long as you are willing to help, together with my master's level 2 Tao Saint clone, there is a chance that we can destroy Devil Saint Cold Night's head and Tao spirit. At that time, his demonic body will be nothing to be afraid of, Dition's sword spirit said. BR, sword spirit, you should be very clear about the consequences once Devil Saint Cold Night escapes. Once he escapes, our sacrifice will be meaningless. The fighting spirit continent will be in a bloodbath because of him. I know, but other than the head and Tao spirit that you are suppressing, the rest of Devil Saint Cold Night's demonic bodies have already escaped. The 4 great ominous swords have been taken away by my master, and the dragon blood tree has also been refined by him. Therefore, we have no other way out. We can only gamble. Dition's sword spirit told Dragon Mark about the stakes. BR, Devil Saint Cold Night's demonic body has escaped. The dragon soul's voice became serious as it felt the seriousness of the situation. "Br, sword spirit, if he really wants me to give him the dragon heart without reservation and help him kill Devil Saint Cold Knight's demonic head and Tao spirit, he must pass my test and defeat me." The dragon's soul pondered for a moment and said, "Br, this. If he does not even dare to accept my test, how can he kill Devil Saint Cold Knight?" The dragon's soul said in a low voice, "Br, okay, I will go and tell my master." After speaking, Tian's sword spirit flew back to Yi Qinfeng's side and told him that if he wanted to subdue the dragon heart, he must pass the dragon soul's test. "Br, okay, I will accept the test." Yi Qinfeng also wanted to test his true strength, so he agreed without hesitation. He kept the Tian sword in his hand and slowly walked towards the dragon heart that was beating slowly. "Br, Junior, you have to think carefully. I will not show mercy during the test. If you fail the test, you will lose your life," the dragon's soul warned coldly. "Br, let's begin." Yi Qinfeng took a deep breath, and a high-pitched dragon roar sounded. The double-headed blood dragon king that was more than 5,000 meters long appeared on his body and sat cross-legged on top of his head. "Br, dragon, I didn't expect you to have the top spiritual beast in the Duhan continent. Defeat me, and I will give you the dragon heart. If you fail, you will die." As it spoke, a green dragon shadow appeared on the dragon heart that was beating rapidly. It let out an earth-shattering dragon roar and attacked the double-headed blood dragon king. After fusing with a large amount of dragon energy and dragon blood, the double-headed blood dragon king was even more terrifying than the spiritual beasts of ordinary second-level combat beast emperors. However, the Azure Dragon Soul was the soul of a mythical beast after all. Remember the website, Sanwu Chinese Network. Chapter 637, Fiery Dragon Exterminating the World. 9 Dragons Sword Slash. Yi Qinfeng unleashed his sword Dao, intent to the extreme. 60 sword Dao patterns shot out from his body and gathered into 9 fiery dragons that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. They whizzed through the layers of space and slashed towards the Azure Dragon Soul. Duplicate address access 77777772E766F6474777-6 ROAR. After being attacked by the 9 fiery dragon sword slash, the Azure Dragon Soul opened its bloody mouth and twisted its huge body. It swung its dragon tail with great force and lashed out. Although the Azure Dragon's soul didn't have a physical body, and its soul spirit had been severely damaged after suppressing Devil Saint Lan Ye's Devil Skull and Tao Spirit for countless years, the Azure Dragon was an existence that surpassed heavenly beasts when it was alive. The soul spirit power that was instantly unleashed was still horrifying. After lashing out with its tail, Yi Qinfeng's 9 dragon sword slash was broken without any suspense. The terrifying dragon prowess stirred up the rapid airflow and lashed towards Yi Qinfeng with a powerful spatial pressure. Heaven's Heartless! With his astral body at perfection stage and a breakthrough in his cultivation level, Yi Qinfeng's body could easily withstand 7 heaven Dao patterns. Now that he had transformed into his strongest divine demon body, he could completely withstand 8 heaven Dao patterns prowess. Rumble! 7 heaven Dao patterns gathered together like a roaring meteor shower. They brought along unparalleled destructive power and bombarded the Azure Dragon's tail. Boundless destructive power surged out like a raging sea and swept out in all directions. And what kind of power is this? After being attacked by the Heaven's Heartless, the Azure Dragon's soul's tail immediately felt a heart-wrenching pain. The terrifying Heaven's Dao power had forcefully cracked its tail. 8 Sha Azura Art, 7 Slaughter Halos. While the Azure Dragon's soul was bewildered, 7 Slaughter Halos appeared behind Yi Qinfeng. The rolling power of slaughter, Sword Dao Intent, and Death Dao Intent surged into the Emperor's Sky Sword and activated the 3,680 offensive array patterns in the sword. Massacre 4th Style, Eternal Night. A pitch-black sword light soared into the sky and slashed toward the soul of the azure dragon. It was as if it wanted to split the heavens and earth. The eternal night, sword light, slashed out, and all the light in the ultimate palace was swallowed up. For a moment, the only thing left in the entire space was that invincible divine sword that could split heaven and earth. The slaughter energy was extremely harmful to the soul, and with the amplification of the sword Tao intent and death Tao intent, the destructive power of the eternal night sword light increased exponentially. After being attacked by the eternal night sword light, a deep sword scar appeared on the azure dragon's soul. The sword Tao pattern and death Tao pattern were constantly destroying its soul, causing the azure dragon's soul to roar in pain. Yin yin yin. The azure dragon's soul had been injured again and again, completely enraging the azure dragon's soul. It opened its bloody mouth and continuously let out world-shaking dragon roars. It was as if the roaring sea was churning the void as it bombarded Yi Qinfeng. 7 Sword of Judgment, Thunder Devour. In order to test his true combat strength, Yi Qinfeng didn't summon the Vermilion Bird Cauldron or the Scarlet Thunder Pearl. Instead, he relied on his powerful attack to receive the attack. Rolling Sword Tao Intent, Thunder Tao Intent, and Death Tao Intent revolved around his body and formed a thunder sword whirlpool. It whizzed and devoured the terrifying roars of the azure dragon's soul. Rumble. The 2 terrifying attacks clashed together and immediately formed a majestic destructive force, causing the entire space to tremble violently. However, 2 breaths later, the thunder sword whirlpool was torn apart by the terrifying sound waves released by the azure dragon's soul. Wind riding technique. As the rolling dragon roars came, Yi Qinfeng didn't take it head-on. He decisively executed the wind riding technique and amplified his speed to evade. Inin. The moment Yi Qinfeng evaded, the azure dragon's soul let out another world-shaking dragon roar. It stirred up a terrifying air current and bombarded him ruthlessly. After being attacked by the dragon roars continuously, Yi Qinfeng, who couldn't evade, quickly gathered several Tao intents in front of him. It formed a Tao intent whirlpool and clashed with the dragon roars. Boom! The Tao intent whirlpool clashed with the dragon roars head-on. It resisted for a few breaths before it exploded. The terrifying sound waves bombarded Yi Qinfeng's body, shattering all the blood dragon scales on his body. He was sent flying, and a large amount of blood spurted out from his mouth. This azure dragon's soul isn't testing me. Its real purpose is to kill me. The injured Yi Qinfeng quickly got up from the ground and looked at the terrifying azure dragon's soul. In its bell-sized eyes, he saw a dense killing intent and awe-inspiring aura. Inin. After releasing the dragon roars to injure Yi Qinfeng, the azure dragon's soul continued to release dragon roars to attack. It stirred up the void and bombarded Yi Qinfeng, wanting to kill him in one go. Vermilion Bird Cauldron. Sensing the killing intent of the azure dragon's soul, Yi Qinfeng didn't dare to be careless. He decisively summoned the Vermilion Bird Cauldron and spat a mouthful of essence blood into it. It awakened the Vermilion Bird's soul and went up to resist the destructive dragon roars. Fiend God Body. In the next moment, the injured Yi Qinfeng ignited his Fiend God bloodline and transformed into an even more powerful Fiend God body. In an instant, his physical body was upgraded to the level of a quasi-Dao treasure, and his physical strength was close to 40 million gene. Second transformation. Seeing Yi Qinfeng transform into a Fiend God body, the azure dragon's soul revealed a surprised expression. It was shocked by Yi Qinfeng's extraordinary means. Vermilion Bird Cauldron. Suppress. While the azure dragon's soul was still in shock, Yi Qinfeng controlled the Vermilion Bird Cauldron to constantly expand and suppress the azure dragon's soul, forcibly restricting its mobility. The azure dragon's soul was incomparably powerful, but its defense was its fatal weakness. Under the suppression of the vermilion bird cauldron, the azure dragon's soul's huge body trembled. Scarlet thunder bead, thunder of death attack. The moment the azure dragon's soul was suppressed by the vermilion bird cauldron, the scarlet thunder bead shot out of Yi Qinfeng's body and released endless thunder of death. It devoured the azure dragon's soul and damaged its soul. Roar, roar, roar. After its soul was attacked by two great Tao treasures, the azure dragon's soul was enraged. It twisted its huge body crazily in midair, tore apart the thunder of death, and crashed into the vermilion bird cauldron. 7 Swords of Judgment, heaven-shattering. When the vermilion bird cauldron and the scarlet thunder bead were shaken away by the frenzied azure dragon's soul, Yi Qinfeng rushed up against the violent air currents. Numerous great Tao intents fused into the Empyrean sword, and a blazing heaven-shattering sword light lit up the chaotic hall. It pierced through the void and slashed towards the azure dragon's soul's huge head. The terrifying attack power forcefully split open a crack on the azure dragon's head and greatly damaged its soul. Roar! The injury to its head infuriated the azure dragon's soul even more. It burned its soul without any regard for the price and raised its strength to the limit. It attacked Yi Qinfeng crazily, as though it would not rest until it killed him. No, there is definitely something wrong with this azure dragon soul. Its current actions are definitely not a test. It really wants to kill me. After being attacked by the azure dragon's soul with all its might and feeling the intense evil aura in its body, Yi Qinfeng was under immense pressure. He had no choice but to burn his golden rock bloodline and dodge with all his might. With the destructive power that the azure dragon's soul had now, it only needed one attack to make Yi Qinfeng lose his ability to fight. Not only did Yi Qinfeng sense that something was wrong, but the Empyrean sword spirit also sensed that something was wrong with the azure dragon's soul. It kept increasing the attacking power of the Empyrean sword and counterattacked the azure dragon's soul. Just as Yi Qinfeng's situation was getting more and more dangerous, and he was being forced to the golden, soul-controlling monument by the azure dragon's soul, something unexpected happened. The 2 stone coffins that had been silent for a long time suddenly became restless and released endless demonic aura that penetrated the soul-controlling monument. It was like the tentacles of an octopus that wrapped around Yi Qinfeng's body, making him unable to move. However, the dragon heart that was suppressing the demonic skull and Tao spirit stopped beating at this moment. In the next moment, the azure dragon's soul's eyes suddenly turned pitch black. Its huge soul was compressed to the limit and turned into a light shadow that attacked Yi Qinfeng's head, dealing a fatal blow to Yi Qinfeng. Mobile reading website. Book address. To make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this book. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 638. Sword Puppet Defend. At the critical moment, Yi Qinfeng summoned the sword puppet in front of him and used its indestructible body to block the fatal blow of the azure dragon's soul. See boom. The murderous and unstoppable azure dragon's soul heavily crashed onto the sword puppet's body, causing a shocking soul fluctuation that distorted the space around Yi Qinfeng. In the next moment, 2 terrifying soul forces, one black and one green, penetrated the sword puppet and blasted into Yi Qinfeng's soul sea at a speed that was hard to be seen by the naked eye, trying to tear his soul apart. God-Eater Brain, Soul Devourer. Yi Qinfeng had been on guard against the soul attack of the azure dragon's soul. Before the 2 souls could erupt, the God-Eater Brain appeared in Yi Qinfeng's soul sea and formed a terrifying, devouring whirlpool. It devoured the azure dragon's soul and the black soul and started to strangle them. No! What is this? A horrified roar resounded in Yi Qinfeng's soul sea. It struggled with all its might, trying to tear the devouring whirlpool apart. However, the existence of the God-Eater brain was too heaven-defying. The struggle of the Azure Dragon's soul and the Black Soul became pale and powerless. They couldn't shake the devouring whirlpool at all. Devil Saint Cold Night, I didn't expect you to corrode the Azure Dragon's soul and control it for a short time. When the Black Soul was about to be torn apart by the devouring whirlpool, Yi Qinfeng's consciousness appeared in the soul sea and whispered, Who are you? Devil Saint Cold Night didn't expect that his meticulous plan would not only fail to control Yi Qinfeng, but also lose a part of his soul. He roared unwillingly, You don't deserve to know who I am. Be destroyed. As Yi Qinfeng spoke, he increased the devouring power of the God-Eater brain and directly tore apart the soul of Devil Saint Cold Night and the Azure Dragon's soul. Roar! A part of the Azure Dragon's soul was devoured by the God-Eater brain. The Azure Dragon's soul let out a painful roar. Its huge soul body began to crack, and the soul power in its body became weaker and weaker. Vermilion Bird Cauldron. Suppress. With a thought, Yi Qinfeng controlled the Vermilion Bird Cauldron to grow larger and larger, directly suppressing the Azure Dragon's soul, suppressing its huge soul body in the main hall that was full of cracks. God-devouring brain, dragon-devouring soul. The Azure Dragon's soul was firmly suppressed by the Vermilion Bird Cauldron. Yi Qinfeng immediately summoned the God-Eater brain and blasted it into the Azure Dragon's soul to devour it. The Azure Dragon's soul was severely injured and could not withstand the God-Eater brain's devouring. The soul power in its body was continuously drained. In less than half an incense's time, the soul of the Azure Dragon was devoured by the God-Eater brain. The God-Eater brain is finally evolving. After devouring the Azure Dragon's soul, Yi Qinfeng discovered that the God-Eater brain had split out a large number of brain cells and was slowly evolving. Once the God-Eater brain's evolution was complete, its deduction and devouring abilities would become even more terrifying. Master, what happened just now? The Ditian sword spirit floated out of the Ditian sword and looked at Yi Qinfeng in awe as he kept the God-Eater brain into his soul sea. The Azure Dragon's soul was eroded by Devil Sage Cold Night's soul. Yi Qinfeng slowly said. The Azure Dragon's soul was controlled by Devil Sage Cold Night's soul. The Ditian sword spirit was stunned. If I'm not wrong, Devil Sage Cold Night's soul did not completely control the Azure Dragon's soul. He could only interfere with the Azure Dragon's consciousness for a short period of time. Otherwise, he would have escaped long ago. However, if Devil Sage Cold Night was given more time, he might be able to completely control the Azure Dragon's soul and obtain the Azure Dragon's heart. From there, he would be able to break through the soul-suppressing tablet and escape. Yi Qinfeng analyzed. Roar! As he spoke, Devil Sage Cold Night, whose soul was greatly damaged, went berserk. He constantly mobilized his terrifying power and attacked the soul-suppressing tablet and Azure Dragon's heart, trying to escape. After losing the Azure Dragon's soul, the suppression of the Azure Dragon's heart was weakened to the extreme. Just the soul-suppressing tablet and the two soul-suppressing sarcophagi were no longer able to suppress the Azure Dragon's soul. Sword Puppet, go help suppress the two soul-suppressing sarcophagi. As Yi Qinfeng saw more and more cracks on the soul-suppressing tablet, he immediately ordered the Sword Puppet to suppress the sarcophagi. He wanted to take this opportunity to forcefully refine the Azure Dragon's heart and increase his strength. Flame of Life, refine. As he approached the Azure Dragon's heart, Yi Qinfeng immediately spat out his Flame of Life, burning it towards the Azure Dragon's heart in an attempt to refine it and fuse it into his body. Thump, thump, thump. As Yi Qinfeng was refining the Azure Dragon's heart, the Azure Dragon's heart began to beat violently. Every time it beat, it would cause Yi Qinfeng's blood and energy to surge. His blood vessels would swell, and his body would feel like it was about to explode. Taking a deep breath, Yi Qinfeng circulated the soul-devouring art at high speed, forcefully suppressing his surging blood and energy. He tried to fuse the azure dragon's flame of life into his body. Puff, puff, puff. As soon as the azure dragon's flame of life entered Yi Qinfeng's body, it immediately produced a powerful backlash, tearing apart Yi Qinfeng's meridians and repelling his body. It was unable to fuse with his heart. How could this be? Why is the azure dragon's flame of life repelling my body? Feeling the azure dragon's flame of life rampaging through his body like a wild horse, destroying his body and repelling his heart, Yi Qinfeng's brows tightly knitted together. Primal chaos, do you know the reason? After the fusion failed, Yi Qinfeng immediately controlled the primal chaos divine would to suppress the surging azure dragon's flame of life and asked the primal chaos divine beast. I think it's because the dragon bloodline in your body is too weak, so the azure dragon's flame of life is rejecting you, the primal chaos divine beast said after a moment of thought. Dragon bloodline is too weak. Yi Qinfeng frowned. Yeah, dragons are very noble creatures. It's very difficult for ordinary people to subdue them. If you want to gain their recognition, you either have to possess power that makes them tremble or be one of their kind. The primal chaos divine beast said. Sigh. I didn't think that fusing with the azure dragon's flame of life would be so troublesome. Looks like I'll have to make a trip to the North Sea ancient grounds of Slaughter City after settling the matters in the Western continent. Yi Qinfeng sighed softly. He helplessly gave up on the idea of refining the azure dragon's flame of life and increasing his strength. He planned to go to the North Sea ancient grounds of Slaughter City in the future and obtain the body of the white dragon that came from the heaven domain. He would further increase the quality of his dragon bloodline and refine this azure dragon's flame of life. Rune seal. Yi Qinfeng's hands moved quickly, forming numerous runes. He forcefully sealed the azure dragon's flame of life and took it away with the universe mirror. Roar, roar. Without the most powerful azure dragon's flame of life, the sealing power was weakened to the extreme. Demonic qi crazily crashed into the soul-suppressing sarcophagus and the golden soul-suppressing tablet in an attempt to shatter them and escape. Sword puppet, come back! The shattered soul-suppressing tablet could no longer suppress the frenzied devil skull and Tao spirit. Yi Qinfeng immediately summoned the sword puppet and handed the Emperor Heaven's sword to him. He was waiting for the moment when the devil's skull and Tao spirit escaped before he launched a fatal attack. It has been 180,000 years. I'm finally going to see the light of day again. I'm going to slaughter the entire Duhan continent and use the blood of millions of humans to wash away the humiliation that old man Di Tian brought me. The devil's body that had been guarding the fourth divine palace felt that the devil's skull and Tao spirit were about to escape. It became excited and led millions of ghosts to surround the fourth divine palace. It was only waiting for the sealing power to disappear before it rushed into the divine palace. Mobile reading website. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click Save at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 639. Boom! Boom! It was earth-shattering as heaven and earth shook. The golden soul-suppressing monument and soul-suppressing sarcophagus exploded from the surging black devil aura. The devil head and Tao spirit of Devil Saint Cold Night, who had been suppressed for 180,000 years, were finally freed. Sword puppet, attack the Tao spirit. Yi Qinfeng knew that the Tao spirit was the source of Devil Saint Cold Night's power. As long as his Tao spirit was destroyed, Devil Saint Cold Night's strength would be greatly reduced and would no longer be a threat. Buzz! The sword puppet's body burned with the power of the heaven crystal. Its entire body fused with the Emperor's Sky sword and slashed at the Tao spirit that had just escaped. As the power of the sword puppet's sword was too great, the chaotic space couldn't withstand the power of the sword. A large number of cracks appeared and a vacuum region appeared as though the entire space was going to collapse. Death Tao in 10th Heaven. Death Tao diagram. When the sword spirit puppet slashed over, the remnant soul in the Tao spirit immediately sensed it. 100 death Tao patterns flew out and condensed into a black Tao diagram. It clashed head-on with the sword attack that tore apart the space and created thousands of layers of giant waves. Death Tao diagram. The sword puppet burned the heaven crystal and slashed out a terrifying sword attack that tore the space apart. However, it wasn't able to break the Death Tao diagram. This allowed Yi Qinfeng to witness the means of the heaven domain's Almighty. The Tao diagram was a diagram that was condensed from the Tao intent 10th Heaven. It was extremely powerful. When a grade 6 combat Beast Emperor ascended to the heaven domain and wanted to break through to the Tao Saint realm, he would have to cultivate his Tao intent 10th Heaven and condense it into a Tao diagram before he could break through. It could be said that the Tao diagram was the capital of a Tao Saint expert. The stronger the Tao diagram, the deeper the Tao Saint expert's foundation and strength. Boss, this Devil Saint Cold Knight must have a huge secret. Otherwise, his Tao spirit wouldn't have the power to condense the Death Tao diagram after being suppressed for more than 100,000 years. The Chaos Divine Beast's voice echoed in Yi Qinfeng's mind. And I also guess that this Devil Saint Cold Knight must have a huge secret. Otherwise, he wouldn't have appeared in the Duhan continent and wouldn't have been suppressed for more than 100,000 years. Yi Qinfeng nodded and continued to command the sword puppet to attack. Human, I'll let you off today, but I'll tear you apart the next time we meet. Part of his soul had been devoured by the God-Eater brain, and the strength of the sword puppet was a great threat to him. Devil Saint Cold Knight immediately controlled the head and the Tao spirit to escape from the divine palace. He wanted to find Yi Qinfeng to settle the score after he had reconstructed his devil body. You want to leave? Not so easy. The sword spirit puppet let out a roar and used its indestructible body to block the demon head. Boundless sword light shot out from the Emperor's celestial sword and swept across the heavens and earth. It slashed down in a shocking manner and enveloped the demon head within sword shadows. Tao diagram of death block. The two-star Tao Saint sword puppet wielded the Emperor's celestial sword, and the sword shadows that it slashed out were extremely terrifying. Demon Skull was unable to break out of the encirclement and could only control the Death Tao diagram to defend with all its might. Chaos Divine Beast, Golden Clear Dragon Bloodlion, come out and help. While the sword puppet was attacking the demonic skull with all its might, Yi Qinfeng summoned the 2 level 8 heavenly beasts to coordinate with the sword puppet. Yi Qinfeng also summoned the Vermilion Bird Cauldron and the Scarlet Thunder Pearl, controlling the 2 treasures to attack the demonic skull. He wanted to destroy the demonic skull at all costs. Death Whirlpool. After being bombarded by waves of attacks, cracks appeared on the terrifying Death Tao diagram. The demonic skull had no choice but to disperse the Death Tao diagram, forming a mass of death whirlpool that engulfed the heavens and the earth, crushing the attacks of Yi Qinfeng and the others. Crescent slash. When the demonic skull borrowed the power of the death whirlpool to forcefully break out of the encirclement, the sword puppet merged with the Emperor's celestial sword again. The Emperor's celestial sword's spirit had also activated the 3,680 offensive array patterns on the Emperor's celestial sword, increasing the attacking power of the Emperor's celestial sword to the greatest extent. A crescent sword light slashed down like a crescent moon, splitting the sky. The sword prowess was overwhelming as it slashed on the death whirlpool, forcibly creating a huge gap. A concentrated explosive force was heard. Heartless Heaven Tao. The instant the death whirlpool was slashed open by the sword puppet, Yi Qinfeng ignited his god-fiend bloodline again and transformed into his god-fiend body. 8 Heaven Tao patterns flew out and transformed into a roaring Heaven Tao torrent, bombarding the demonic skull. Roar! Roar! Although Yi Qinfeng was unable to unleash the true power of the Heaven Tao was the foundation of all Taos. When the Heaven Tao struck the demonic skull, the demonic spirit was greatly damaged, causing the demonic skull to constantly roar in pain. Primordial Chaos Roar. Dragon Lion Roar. The primordial chaos divine beast and the golden, clear dragon bloodlion also released powerful sound waves that blended together and bombarded the demonic skull, continuing to damage the demonic spirit. Lowly human, I swear that I will turn you into ashes. The demonic spirit was injured again and again, causing the demonic skull to go berserk. It burned its Tao spirit at all costs and forcefully increased its strength, trying its best to break out of the encirclement. At this moment, sensing that the demonic skull and Tao spirit had broken free, the demonic body and the black praying mantis drove tens of thousands of ghostly creatures into the sky. They charged at the fourth shrine, which was rapidly decreasing in strength, wanting to destroy the shrine. Not good, Master. A large number of ghostly creatures are charging at the shrine outside. I reckon that the demonic body should be outside. Through the shrine's restrictions, the Ditian sword spirit sensed the situation outside and sent a voice transmission to inform him. Don't bother about them. Attack the demonic skull with all your might. Yi Qinfeng did not get distracted because of this. He used all his strength to control the vermilion bird cauldron and the scarlet thunder pearl to attack the demonic skull, causing cracks to appear on the tough demonic skull. Tao diagram of death, defend. The demonic skull cracked, and the demonic spirit could only continue to burn its Tao spirit. Once again, it condensed the terrifying Tao diagram of death to defend with all its might. As the Tao diagram of death was condensed, it immediately released boundless Tao of death, forming layers of death barriers around the demonic skull. It blocked off the attacks of the vermilion bird cauldron, the scarlet thunder pearl, and the two heavenly beasts. Sky crystal ignition. Ditian sword slash. When Yi Qinfeng and the two heavenly beast attacks were neutralized by the Tao diagram of death, the sky crystal in the sword puppet's body started to burn again. Streaks of shocking sword light slashed down and slashed at the Tao diagram of death. As the sword puppet's attacking power was too terrifying, every streak of sword light slashed open the space, leaving behind a shocking sword scar. When the sword light slashed on the Tao diagram of death, the terrifying destructive power constantly cracked the Tao diagram of death and damaged the demonic skull. Tao diagram of death explode. Unable to defend against the sword puppet's attacks, the demonic skull did not hesitate to detonate the Tao diagram of death. Suddenly, an endless amount of death Tao will erupted. Like a tidal wave, it swept out in all directions, forcefully pushing back Yi Qinfeng and the two heavenly beasts who had turned pale with fright. The sword spirit puppet, which was approaching at an extremely fast speed, was swallowed up. Just as the demonic skull seized the opportunity of the Tao diagram of death's self-destruction to break out of the encirclement, the sword puppet ignored the self-destruction of the Tao diagram of death. It wielded the Ditian sword and struck the demonic skull. Kacha! The demonic skull's hard skull was once again split open by the Ditian sword. The terrifying Ditian sword's power penetrated the skull, constantly damaging the Tao spirit and crushing the demonic soul. Boom! Just as the demonic skull was severely injured and the sword puppet continued to attack, the front hall of the fourth shrine was attacked by tens of thousands of ghosts, demonic bodies, and the black praying mantis. It collapsed and shook the entire shrine. Seizing the opportunity when the shrine was shaking violently, the demonic skull burned its Tao spirit again and forcefully passed through the sword shadows of the sword puppet. It flew at an extremely fast speed toward Yi Qinfeng, who had dodged far away. Despicable human, go to hell! The demonic skull burned its Tao spirit and launched a fatal attack. It was bound to kill Yi Qinfeng, who was in charge of everything. Red envelopes. Mobile reading website. Book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 640. It is still not certain who will die. The Devil's Skull launched a fatal attack, but Yi Qinfeng's deep eyes did not reveal any trace of fear. He stood still like a mountain as 13 streaks of chaos power gushed out of his body. They were like 13 streaks of 5-color divine light that cut through everything and bombarded the Devil's Skull. One Kanshuk Kacha, the Devil's Skull, which was covered in cracks, was struck by the 13 streaks of chaos power at close range. Even the extremely tough Tao spirit had cracks, causing the Devil's Skull to howl in pain. What kind of power is this? The Devil's Skull could not believe that Yi Qinfeng, whom he viewed as an ant, actually possessed a terrifying power that could severely injure or even kill him. The Devil's Skull was penetrated by the 13 streaks of chaos power, and the sword puppet's attacks came one after another. The Empyrean celestial sword, which had been completely activated, continuously slashed the Devil's Skull, worsening its injuries. Just as the Devil's Skull was about to be destroyed by the sword puppet, the ultimate palace hall suddenly shook violently. Tens of thousands of ghosts, driven by the devil body, crashed through the doors of the ultimate palace hall and barged in. For a moment, the entire ultimate palace hall was in chaos. The severely injured Devil's Skull burned its Tao spirit for the 4th time, forming a Tao diagram of death. It blocked the sword puppet's fatal attack and took advantage of the chaos to escape from the collapsing ultimate palace hall. Vermilion bird cauldron, suppress. While the Devil's Skull was trying its best to escape, Yi Qinfeng controlled the vermilion bird cauldron to descend from the sky, instantly killing hundreds of ghosts and suppressing the Devil's Skull. One Kanshuk just as the Devil's Skull was about to be suppressed by the vermilion bird cauldron. 2 sharp saber lights cut across the void and slashed on the vermilion bird cauldron. The powerful attack shook the vermilion bird cauldron and helped the Devil's Skull to escape. Not good. The vermilion bird cauldron had failed to suppress the Devil's Skull. Yi Qinfeng realized that the devil body and the black praying mantis had appeared. The one who shook the vermilion bird cauldron was the black praying mantis with terrifying attack power. Reconstruct the devil body. There was a loud roar as the devil body and the Devil's Skull clashed together. Endless demonic aura spread out, causing the entire spatial zone to tremble violently. I, Devil Saint Cold Night, have been reborn. When the demonic head and the demonic body fused together, Devil Saint Cold Night reformed his demonic body and let out a ferocious roar. Rolling sound waves swept out in all directions, venting the anger that had accumulated for more than 100,000 years. However, because Devil Saint Cold Night's demon heart had been refined by Mo Fengyin, although Devil Saint Cold Night had reformed his demon body, it was not complete, and he still could not recover to his peak strength. Chi, the sound of space being torn apart, rang out as Demon Saint Cold Night reformed his demonic body. As he roared at the sky, the sword puppet slashed at him as one with its weapon. The unstoppable sword light stirred up the power of wind, clouds, and thunder, leaving a deep sword mark on the body of Devil Saint Cold Night. Devil Saint Cold Night, who had just reformed his body, was sent flying away. Then, the sword puppet swung its sword again. A terrifying sword ray pierced through space and sent the black, praying mantis flying. Its huge body was almost torn apart by this attack. Chaos Divine Beast, Golden Clear Dragon Blood Lion, kill Devil Saint Cold Night with all your strength. Devil Saint Cold Night was sent flying by the sword puppet. Yi Qinfeng and the 2 heavenly beasts tore through the ghost tide and quickly closed in on Devil Saint Cold Night. They continued to attack him, wanting to destroy him while the demonic head was injured and his Tao spirit was severely depleted. Sky, demon, demonic chains. Enduring the fierce attacks of the sword puppet, Yi Qinfeng and the others, 5 black chains as thick as a child's arm shot out from Devil Saint Cold Night's body. They were like ferocious flood dragons that coiled around them. They wanted to forcefully bind them and escape. Facing the attacks of the sky demon demonic chains, the sword puppet did not dodge. Instead, it wielded the Emperor Heaven's sword and used its absolute strength to break the 5 sky demon demonic chains, shattering them all. Damn it! Where did that human come from? Such a terrifying clone could not have come from this low-level domain. Could it be that this low-level domain has a heaven domain inheritance? After experiencing the terror of the sword puppet, Devil Saint Cold Knight's heart trembled. He did not want to continue fighting with it. He wanted to leave this place as soon as possible and find a place to recuperate. However, the sword puppet did not give him the chance to escape. It interweaved countless sword shadows and attacked him with all its strength. The 2 powerful figures continued to fight fiercely. From the sky to the ground, from the ground to the sky. The terrifying impact annihilated the space and crushed a large number of dead objects. Yi Qinfeng and the 2 heavenly beasts were unable to get close. Boom! The sword puppet and Devil Saint Cold Knight fought fiercely for 5 minutes. The 4th divine palace could not withstand the impact of the destructive power and completely collapsed, falling from the red clouds. The instant the 4th divine palace collapsed, Devil Saint Cold Knight, who was covered in blood, once again condensed the death Tao diagram. Borrowing the power of the Tao diagram, he used his strongest move, Sky Demon, Dance of the 8 Directions. Devil Saint Cold Knight transformed his arms into demonic weapons. He waved the universe and slashed at the sword puppet at an extremely fast speed. As Devil Saint Cold Knight's attack speed was too fast, his arms seemed to have disappeared. There were only demonic shadows that were hard to see with the naked eye. They waved the universe and destroyed everything. Faced with Devil Sage Cold Knight's killer move, the sword spirit puppet charged forward bravely without dodging. Boundless sword radiance burst out from the Empyrean celestial sword and clashed with the devil weapon that was dancing around the universe. A crack that traversed the void appeared in the sky above the dragon abyss and spread rapidly. Soon, a 2nd and 3rd spatial crack appeared in the sky above the dragon abyss. The entire void seemed to be shattering in the intense battle between the 2. What? You're not injured? Devil Saint Cold Knight fused with the power of the Death Tao diagram, but he was faintly unable to withstand the terrifying impact. His injuries continued to worsen. However, the sword puppet was still unscathed. This made Devil Saint Cold Knight more and more fearful. Finally, the severely injured Devil Saint Cold Knight ignited his Tao spirit for the 5th time and used all his strength to break out. Devil Saint Cold Knight ignited his Tao spirit to break out, and the sword puppet immediately stopped him. However, Devil Saint Cold Knight was determined to break out this time. He unleashed an earth-shattering attack, causing the sword puppet to be under tremendous pressure. Black Praying Mantis self-destruct. Just as Yi Qinfeng and the 2 heavenly beasts were getting close and wanted to forcefully seal off Devil Saint Cold Knight's escape route, Devil Saint Cold Knight, who was in a frenzy, gave the command to self-destruct to the Black Praying Mantis. Hearing Devil Saint Cold Knight's command, the severely injured Black Praying Mantis revealed a trace of despair. However, it was Devil Saint Cold Knight's contracted beast and could not disobey Devil Saint Cold Knight's command. It could only self-destruct its beast core and rush forward. Boom! When the level 9 heavenly beast Black Praying Mantis neared Yi Qinfeng, its beast core exploded, and the terrifying energy burst forth like a volcanic eruption, forming a power that could destroy the heavens and the earth, distorting the space around it as it swept towards Yi Qinfeng and the 2 heavenly beasts, wanting to annihilate them in the storm of destruction. Not good. Although Yi Qinfeng was close to a Tao artifact after transforming into his divine devil body, the Black Praying Mantis was still a level 9 heavenly beast. The power generated by its self-destructing beast core was extremely terrifying and brought about a fatal threat to Yi Qinfeng. As a last resort, The moment Yi Qinfeng teleported the two heavenly beasts into the universe realm. He ordered the sword puppet to block in front of him to block the black praying mantis self-destruct attack. Devil Saint Cold Knight seized the opportunity when the sword puppet pulled back to defend and turned into a black light, escaping into the distance. Where do you think you're going? When Yi Qinfeng saw Devil Saint Cold Knight escaping, he decisively ignited the Golden Rock's bloodline. Under the sword puppet's defense, he forcefully passed through the black praying mantis self-destruction and formed a destructive storm, chasing after Devil Saint Cold Knight with all his strength. Dear friends who want to read the latest chapters of this book, please come to the Yunlai Pavilion or visit me on your mobile phone. Mobile reading site, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 641. Swish, swish. Two meteor-like figures cut across the sky and sped through the dragon abyss. 1. In order to kill Devil Saint Cold Knight, Yi Qinfeng went all out. He burned a large portion of his Golden Rock bloodline to increase his speed as he chased closely. As for Devil Saint Cold Knight, he was severely injured from the battle with the sword puppet. The continuous burning of his Tao spirit had consumed too much energy, causing him to be unable to unleash his maximum speed. Gradually, Yi Qinfeng closed a gap between them. Sword Spirit, do you know of any ominous grounds in the Dragon Abyss that can trap Devil Saint Cold Knight for a short period of time? The sword puppet might be able to severely injure Devil Saint Cold Knight, but if it wanted to destroy him, it would have to trap him somewhere. Yes, I know of a place. If we can lure Devil Saint Cold Knight there, we will definitely be able to trap him. Tian's sword spirit pondered for a moment and told Yi Qinfeng the location of the ominous grounds in the Dragon Abyss. All right, then we will think of a way to lure Devil Saint Cold Knight there. Yi Qinfeng chased after Devil Saint Cold Knight as he tried to think of a way. As they flew, Yi Qinfeng's powerful soul spirit suddenly sensed 3 familiar auras appearing in a stretch of mountains not far ahead. It's them! Sensing that these 3 auras were released by Yu Bingyu, He Shi, 2G, and Ying, Yi Qinfeng frowned as he had a bad premonition. However, Mo Fingyun's clone, Mo Qianxin, was nowhere to be seen. Yi Qinfeng sensed Yu Bingyu and the other two's auras. They were still unable to shake off Yi Qinfeng's pursuit. Devil Saint Cold Knight, who was thinking of a way, also sensed it. He rolled his eyes and immediately flew down. One Kanshuk, who is it? Yu Bingyu and the other 2 had just killed a level 7 heavenly beast and were recuperating in the depths of the mountains. Suddenly, they felt a terrifying aura that caused their souls to tremble rapidly approaching. They opened their eyes and saw a black figure covered in blood through the lush canopy. Not good, Dodge. Seeing the black figure flying towards them like a meteor and sensing the thick demonic aura emanating from his body, Yu Bingyu and the other 2 sensed danger and dodged without thinking. However, Devil Saint Cold Knight was too powerful, and the oppressive force he emitted greatly slowed down their dodging speed. Scram! When He Shi 2G saw the ferocious Devil Saint Cold Knight approaching, he let out a furious roar. The blood in his body burned. Wielding the heaven artifact, Bloodthirsty Sky Axe, he unleashed the 9 frenzied, demonic slashes, wanting to force Devil Saint Cold Knight back. However, Demon Saint Cold Knight's strength was too horrifying. Ignoring the 9 axe attacks that could split the sky and split the earth and tear the air apart, he threw a palm strike at He Shi 2G. With one palm strike, He Shi 2G, who was burly and had just become a half-step combat beast emperor, was sent flying away. He crashed into several thick ancient trees and fainted in a pile of wood. Where are you 2 going? Demon Saint Cold Knight sent the black rock earth pole flying with a palm strike. A large number of black light threads appeared in the palm of her hand. Before Yi Qinfeng could stop her, they wrapped around Yu Bingyu and Ing, binding their bodies and pulling them in front of her. One can shuck, Devil Saint Cold Night. I didn't expect that a supreme expert like you would actually use such despicable methods. Are all the people of the Heaven Domains Devil Clan this shameless? When Yi Qinfeng, who was chasing closely, saw Devil Saint Cold Night holding Yu Bingyu and Ing hostage, his face instantly turned gloomy and he coldly sneered. Supreme expert of the Heaven Domain. After knowing Devil Saint Cold Night's identity, Yu Bingyu and Ying's expression changed greatly. A fear that came from the depths of their soul spread throughout their entire body. However, when she thought of her hostile relationship with Yi Qinfeng, Yu Bingyu's charming eyes were filled with despair and ashes. Brat, if you don't want the two of them to die, you better scram obediently. Otherwise, I will immediately twist the necks of these two beauties and send them to the afterlife. Devil Saint Cold Night ignored Yi Qinfeng's ridicule and viciously warned. Devil Saint Cold Night, I have a very unfortunate news to tell you. Not only are the two of them not my friends, they're my enemies. If you want to use them to threaten me, I'm afraid that your wishful thinking will fail. Yi Qinfeng revealed a trace of a cold smile. He summoned the sword puppet and locked onto Devil Saint Cold Night. Brat, do you think that I will believe your nonsense? If you don't back off, don't blame me for being impolite to them. Devil Saint Cold Night coldly warned. He slightly increased the binding strength of the black silk threads. It tore the clothes of the two girls and left streaks of blood on their beautiful bodies. I said, they're my enemies, not my friends. If you want to help me eliminate a great enemy, I welcome you very much. Yi Qinfeng said without a trace of emotion. Is that so? Devil Saint Cold Night did not believe Yi Qinfeng's words. With a thought, a terrifying devil chi directly tore apart the torn clothes on Yu Bingyu and Ying's body, exposing their hot bodies to the air. Brat, this saint has not touched meat for more than 100,000 years. If you don't leave, this saint will ruthlessly ravage them in front of you. Devil Saint Cold Night viciously threatened. His blood-red eyes stared unwaveringly at the two girls' smooth backs and straight, slender legs. That expression was like a hungry wolf that had its eyes on the most delicious food. No, don't. Yi Qinfeng, save us. Yu Bingyu had been guarding the fear of death, but when she heard that Devil Saint Cold Night wanted to defile her pure body, Yu Bingyu's psychological defense completely collapsed. Her pale face revealed fear and despair. She loudly pleaded for her enemy, Yi Qinfeng, to save her. Although Ing did not ask for help and tightly bit her lips, her slightly trembling body still exposed the fear in her heart. Sword puppet, exterminate Devil Saint Cold Night. Yi Qinfeng coldly looked at Yu Bingyu and Ing Bingyu and coldly ordered. His ruthless voice made the two girls' hearts fall to the bottom. Brat, I want to see how long you can pretend. Hearing Yi Qinfeng's indifferent order, Devil Saint Cold Night's heart also had a trace of fear. If Yi Qinfeng really did not care about the two girls' life and death and insisted on the sword puppet to take action, then he would fall into a dangerous quagmire again. Rip! The black undergarment in front of Yu Bingyu's body was mercilessly torn off by Devil Saint Cold Night, revealing her wheat-colored skin, sexy collarbone, and delicate shoulders. The two full and straight peaks in front of her chest flickered with a charming light. It was very alluring. Ah, the last cover was torn off by Devil Saint Cold Night. Her wild and beautiful body was completely exposed in front of Yi Qinfeng. Yu Bingyu let out a scream. Bean-sized tears uncontrollably gushed out from her eyes and streaked across her beautiful and pale face. Yi Qinfeng, I beg you to save me. As long as you are willing to save me, I am willing to agree to any of your requests. Thinking of her impending tragic fate, Yu Bingyu fearfully shouted. Sword puppet, do it. Yi Qinfeng did not pay attention to Yu Bingyu's cry for help. He did not hesitate to order the sword puppet to attack Devil Saint Cold Night, whose expression had greatly changed. Consider yourself ruthless. The sword puppet attacked with full force. Devil Saint Cold Night poured billowing demonic qi into Yu Bingyu and Yu Bingyu's body, and threw them towards Yi Qinfeng. Just as the two screaming women uncontrollably crashed into Yi Qinfeng's body, the demonic qi that filled their bodies suddenly turned into two pitch-black battle blades, piercing towards Yi Qinfeng's chest with irresistible force. Not good. Yi Qinfeng did not expect Devil Saint Cold Night to have such a method. It was already too late for him to dodge. The battle blades condensed from demonic qi broke through his body's defense and pierced through his body. Suddenly, a large amount of blood spurted out from Yi Qinfeng's body, dyeing his clothes red. Under Devil Saint Cold Night's calculation, Yi Qinfeng was unexpectedly seriously injured. This week's annual meeting, Yun Lei will go to Haikao to participate in the annual meeting. Next Tuesday, Yun Lei will resume the third update. For those who want to read the latest chapter, please come down to Yun Lei Pavilion or visit me on your mobile phone. Mobile reading site. This book's address. In order to facilitate your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 642. Sword Spirit Puppet, let's go. Yi Qinfeng, who had been severely injured by Demon Saint Cold Night's scheme, spat out fresh blood, gritted his teeth. He had no choice but to give up on killing Demon Saint Cold Night and wanted to leave quickly. BR go? Do you think you can leave? After successfully injuring Yi Qinfeng, Demon Sage Cold Night was overjoyed. Although his injuries were also serious and he was afraid of the indestructible sword puppet, he knew that now was the best time to kill Yi Qinfeng. Once Yi Qinfeng died, his doppelganger would become an ownerless object and would no longer be a threat to him. BR Sky Demon Ghost Chains. Demon Sage Cold Night faced the attack of the sword puppet head-on. 5 black chains as thick as arms broke out of his body, and with an ear-piercing sound, they wrapped around Yi Qinfeng, who was seriously injured. Just as Yi Qinfeng was about to be entangled by the heavenly demon ghost ropes, the sword spirit puppet quickly made its move. It held the Di Tianbana in its hand and created a ship that traversed the void. With one sword, it split the heavenly demon ghost ropes and blocked in front of Yi Qinfeng. BR go. Yi Qinfeng ignored his injuries and rushed into the sky with the sword puppet, flying towards the depths of the mountain range at an extremely fast speed. BR, Xing, I will definitely kill you today. Demon Sage Cold Night would definitely not let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He turned into a black ray of light and chased after Yi Qinfeng, determined to kill him. The two people who were chasing and escaping just now changed their positions at this time. Yi Qinfeng became the target of the chase. BR, Yu Bingyu, do you think Yi Qinfeng can escape from the pursuit of the Sky Domain's experts? Yu Bingyu, who had survived the calamity, crossed her hands in front of her plump chest and asked in a low voice. BR, I don't know either. Yu Bingyu, whose face was pale, shook her head and said in a complicated tone, But I think he can escape this calamity. Sword Spirit, quickly guide me to that place of great danger. Yi Qinfeng did not care about the injuries on his body. As he burned the golden rock wings to escape, he communicated with the Di Tian Sword Spirit through his mind. BR, Master, did you intentionally get injured just now? The Di Tian Sword Spirit asked. BR, yes, I did it on purpose just now. Only by beating him at his own game would I have a chance to lure him to that place of great danger and finally kill him. Yi Qinfeng's soul had been tempered thousands of times. How strong was it? When Yu Bingyu and Yu Bingyu were charging towards him at high speed, he had already sensed that something was amiss. In a flash, Yi Qinfeng suddenly thought of the plan to take the risk and lure the cold night demon saint into the land of great danger. He beat them at their own game and allowed the demonic blade to injure him severely. Although Yi Qinfeng's bold plan was extremely risky and the severity of his injuries was beyond his expectations, Yi Qinfeng knew that this was his only chance. If he could not kill the cold night demon saint while he was seriously injured, once he escaped, he would bring a devastating disaster to the Dohua continent and he would become a sinner for all eternity. Under the guidance of the Di Tian sword spirit, Yi Qinfeng quickly flew towards a place of great danger in the depths of the dragon abyss. The cold night demon saint, who was flying faster and faster, slowly closed the distance between him and Yi Qinfeng. A demonic sound that could pierce through clouds and split stones was released from his mouth. It fluctuated the void and bombarded Yi Qinfeng, who was not far away. After being attacked by the demonic sound continuously released by the cold night demon saint, the injuries on Yi Qinfeng's body continued to worsen. A large amount of blood flowed out from his 7 orifices. Fortunately, Yi Qinfeng had cultivated the Atman body level to perfection. His body was strong enough to withstand the demonic sound attack released by the cold night demon saint. "Br, Xing Xing, I advise you not to make a futile struggle. You can't escape." Demon Saint Cold Night, Yi Qinfeng, who was bleeding profusely, revealed a sinister expression as he roared savagely. "Br, Cold Night, don't be complacent. The next time we meet, I will definitely destroy you." Yi Qinfeng quickly controlled the Tao of Life to repair the serious injuries on his body and deliberately responded. "Br, next time. Do you think I will give you a next time? This time, I will definitely kill you." As he spoke, the cold night demon saint forcefully cast a secret technique to suppress the serious injuries in his clan. He continued to accelerate his flying speed and close the distance between him and Yi Qinfeng. "Br, Wrath of God's Punishment." The cold night demon saint was getting closer and closer. The 3 heavenly spirits flew out of Yi Qinfeng's body and quickly merged to form a tricolored destructive light ball, bombarding the cold night demon saint behind him. "Br, boom." The wrath of God's punishment exploded. The terrifying destructive power distorted the void and swallowed the cold night demon saint inside, crazily destroying his physical body. When the furious cold night demon saint forcefully tore apart the destructive power, another tricolored destructive light ball flew over and bombarded him. After being attacked by the wrath of God's punishment continuously, the speed of the cold night demon saint's pursuit was greatly affected. Yi Qinfeng once again widened the distance between them, which made him furious. He continued to accelerate at all costs to chase after Yi Qinfeng. But when he cast a secret technique and closed the distance again, he was attacked by the wrath of God's punishment continuously, which slowed down the speed of his pursuit. Just like this, Yi Qinfeng and the cold night demon saint, one chasing and one fleeing, crossed the extremely vast area of the dragon abyss and gradually approached the place of great danger that Di Tian's sword spirit knew. "Br, Master, if I remember correctly, after crossing the black mountain range in front of us, we will reach the place of great danger," Di Tian's sword spirit said. "Br, good, we're finally here." Wisps of black fog drifted in the air, and the black mountain range was filled with a thick aura of death. Yi Qinfeng, who was bitterly persevering with his willpower, slowed down slightly, allowing the angry demon Saint Cold Night to close the distance between them. "Br, there's something wrong with this place." As he approached the black mountain range, the powerful soul of the Cold Night demon Saint sensed something, and a trace of seriousness appeared on his face. However, he did not know that all of this was within Yi Qinfeng's calculations. In order to kill Yi Qinfeng, the cold night demon Saint did not slow down and continued to chase after Yi Qinfeng. Finally, after crossing the black mountain range, the cold night demon Saint once again closed the distance between him and Yi Qinfeng. Ignoring the injuries on his body, he launched a fierce attack on him. The rolling demonic flames were like a rushing tide, sweeping across the sky and bombarding Yi Qinfeng crazily. "BR, sword puppet, defend!" At the critical moment, Yi Qinfeng summoned the sword puppet to help him resist the attack of the soaring demonic flames. When the sword puppet was facing the waves of demonic flames, the cold night demon saint finally caught up with Yi Qinfeng. He struck a palm across the air and pressed it towards Yi Qinfeng. "BR, vermilion bird cauldron." The huge palm that covered the sky slapped over, and Yi Qinfeng immediately took out the vermilion bird cauldron to collide with it. "BR, boom!" A loud sound was heard, and it was earth-shattering. The rolling demonic aura forcibly shook the vermilion bird cauldron away, forming a strong repulsive force that fiercely bombarded Yi Qinfeng's body, causing him to fall from mid-air into the black mountain range. And the place where Yi Qinfeng fell was the place of great danger that Di Tian's sword spirit had told him about. "BR, Xing, go to hell." After injuring Yi Qinfeng heavily again, the cold night demon saint was overjoyed. He forcefully broke through the obstruction of the sword puppet and dived down at an extremely fast speed, wanting to kill Yi Qinfeng in one go. "BR, yes, he disappeared." When Yi Qinfeng fell into a black fog, he suddenly disappeared. This made the cold night demon saint stunned for a moment, but he did not slow down and chased after Yi Qinfeng into the black fog. "BR, Xing, you're running. Why aren't you running anymore?" After chasing into the black fog, the cold night demon saint who was seriously injured did not continue to run, but sat cross-legged on the ground to heal his injuries, revealing a trace of malevolence. "BR, my side is not bad. It's very suitable to be your grave, so I've decided to finish you off here." Yi Qinfeng quickly swallowed a life spirit into his stomach to heal his serious injuries, and said coldly to the cold night demon saint, "BR, Touching Yi Qinfeng's cold eyes and calm appearance, the cold night demon saint frowned and felt a trace of inexplicable uneasiness. And at this time, the sword puppet penetrated the black fog and appeared in this place of great danger. It burned the sky crystal and launched a thunderous attack at him. This book came from /book/html/30/30709/indexedmal. Chapter 643. Boom! The sword spirit puppet and devil saint cold night exchanged a punch, and the terrifying power of the punch surged out dense energy ripples, spreading out in all directions at an extremely fast speed. Sword puppet received the Empyrean sword. After receiving the attack head-on, Yi Qinfeng immediately threw the Empyrean sword to the sword puppet and ordered it to unleash its most ferocious attack on Devil Sage Cold Night and kill him with all its might. While the sword puppet was attacking Devil Sage Cold Night, Yi Qinfeng controlled the God-Eater brain's power to radiate out. It seeped into this seemingly harmless but abnormally dangerous place to deduce the situation. Heavenly demon, dance of the desolation. Sensing that Yi Qinfeng's injuries were recovering rapidly and that this place was a little strange, Devil Sage Cold Night felt even more uneasy. He used his arm as a saber and brandished the universe of the desolation, slashing at the sword puppet with extreme speed. He wanted to force it back and kill Yi Qinfeng with all his might. Heaven Crystal, burn! Facing the extremely fast saber-light attack, the sword puppet kept burning the Heaven Crystal and went up with the Empyrean sword. Not only did it block Devil Sage Cold Night's killer move, but it also injured his arms that were comparable to Tao artifacts and covered them with sword scars. Tao Spirit, burn! The sword puppet burned the Heaven Crystal to increase its strength. Devil Sage Cold Night had no choice but to burn the power of his Tao Spirit and counterattack with all his might. Just as the two of them were fighting intensely for half an hour, Devil Sage Cold Night seized the opportunity and suddenly approached Yi Qinfeng and attacked him. Divine Demon Bloodline Ignition, Divine Demon Body. Yi Qinfeng's soul spirit had been locked onto Devil Sage Cold Night. When he approached, Yi Qinfeng did not hesitate to transform into his divine demon body and executed the merciless Heaven Dao. 8 runes of the Great Path shot out from his body, transforming into the roaring power of the Great Path, bombarding Demon Saint Cold Night at close range. Break for me! As the merciless Heaven Dao blasted over, Devil Sage Cold Night gathered all his strength in his fist and punched out. Boom! 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 When the 2 powerful attacks collided, a deafening explosion was immediately heard. Chaos Force attack! Demon Saint Cold Night had used his absolute power to break through the Heavenly Dao's ruthlessness. 10 streams of chaotic power shot out from Yi Qinfeng's body, cutting through space. With astonishing power, they shot towards Demon Saint Cold Night, whose expression changed drastically. Chi chi chi! Demon Saint Cold Night's fist was pierced by the 10 streams of primal chaos force. Following that, his right arm was also pierced by the primal chaos force. His meridians and bones were all damaged, and a large amount of blood spurted out uncontrollably. Half Moon Sword Slash. When Demon Sage Cold Night was attacked by 10 streaks of chaotic power, his entire right arm was almost crippled. The sword puppet's entire body fused with the Emperor's celestial sword, transforming into a demonic half-moon sword light. It tore through space and ruthlessly slashed at Demon Sage Cold Night's back. Chi! Devil Saint Cold Night's body defense was broken through. The dreadful half-moon sword light left a deep sword wound on his back, and a large amount of demon blood flowed out uncontrollably. Vermilion Bird Cauldron, Scarlet Thunder Bead attack! Demon Saint Cold Night had been severely injured consecutively. Yi Qinfeng controlled the 2 great Dao treasures to bombard his chest, forcibly shaking him. Demon Saint Cold Night was already severely injured, and now that he was severely injured, his combat strength was greatly reduced. However, he knew that he had no way out. If he couldn't kill Yi Qinfeng while he was injured, it would be difficult for him to escape the pursuit of the sword puppet. Demon Saint Cold Night forcefully executed a mystic art, suppressing the increasingly serious injuries in his body, and continued to attack Yi Qinfeng. However, before he could get close to Yi Qinfeng, the sword puppet blocked in front of him. The Emperor's celestial sword in its hand interweaved with countless sword shadows, enveloping him. Dao Diagram of Death. The attacking power of the Emperor's celestial sword was too terrifying. The severely injured demon, Saint Cold Night, didn't dare to continue to use his body to take it head-on. He forcefully condensed the Dao Diagram of Death to resist with all his might. Union of man and weapon break. The instant the Dao Diagram of Death blocked the Emperor's celestial sword shadows, the sword puppet continued to fuse with the Emperor's celestial sword, turning into a light sword that was more than 100 feet long. It pierced the Dao Diagram of Death that was condensed from the 100 Dao patterns like a hot knife through butter. Kachacha! When the sword puppet's union of man and weapon pierced the Dao Diagram of Death, it immediately shook the 100 Dao patterns in the Dao Diagram of Death, forming a boundless energy wave that distorted the space. PFFF! PFFF! Seeing that the Dao Diagram of Death was being destroyed by the sword puppet's union of man and weapon, Demon Saint Cold Night immediately spat out a few mouthfuls of essence blood at the Dao Diagram of Death. He repaired the Dao Diagram of Death and defended against the sword puppet's attacks, draining his energy. When the sword puppet and Demon Saint Cold Night were fighting intensely, Yi Qinfeng summoned the Jinqing Dragon Blood Lion and Chaos Divine Beast. He ordered the 2 level 8 heavenly beasts to attack Demon Saint Cold Night and interfere with him. On the other hand, Yi Qinfeng continued to control the God-Eater brain to deduce the truth and falsehood of this ominous ground. He was trying to control the natural array in this ominous ground. If the God-Eater brain could deduce the truth and falsehood of the natural array and control it, he would have a greater chance of killing Demon Saint Cold Night. Kacha! Under the all-out attack of the Chaos Divine Beast and the Jinqing dragon bloodlion. Demon Saint Cold Knight had no choice but to divert his attention to defend himself. At this moment, the sword puppet continued to burn the power of the heaven crystal and increase the power of its attack. It pierced through the Tao diagram of death in one fell swoop. PFFF. The extremely sharp Dition sword light ruthlessly pierced into Demon Saint Cold Knight's shoulder. It pierced a bloody hole in his shoulder and continued to worsen his injuries. Devil's Shadow evasion. The injuries on his body continued to worsen. Demon Saint Cold Knight, who had fallen into a frenzy, didn't care about the injuries on his body and forcefully unleashed his speed trump card. His Tao spirit burned intensely, and Demon Saint Cold Knight's entire body became blurry. He dodged the attacks of the sword puppet and the two heavenly beasts. With a speed that was hard to be seen by the naked eye, he appeared in front of Yi Qinfeng and launched a fatal attack at him. "You can go to hell for me," Demon Saint Cold Knight roared. His left arm drew an extreme saber shadow and slashed at Yi Qinfeng. He wanted to cleave him in half. Primal chaos energy. At this critical moment, Yi Qinfeng shot out the remaining 10 streaks of primal chaos energy from the Chaos Divine Wood. He blocked the extreme saber shadow that Demon Saint Cold Knight had slashed out and bombarded his body once again. What? Demon Saint Cold Knight had never imagined that Yi Qinfeng could continue to shoot out primal chaos energy. He couldn't dodge in time and was pierced by streaks of primal chaos energy as he was sent flying. Slash! When Demon Saint Cold Knight was severely injured again, the sword puppet wielded the Dition sword and slashed out a shocking sword. The sword slashed at Demon Saint Cold Knight's severely injured right arm. The terrifying sword light forcefully severed his right arm. Roar! Roar! His right arm was severed by the sword puppet, causing Demon Saint Cold Knight to wail in pain. Just as he burned his Tao spirit and wanted to reattach his right arm, Yi Qinfeng controlled the vermilion bird cauldron and suppressed the demon's right arm. Chaos Divine would devour! At the next moment, Yi Qinfeng took a risk and summoned the Chaos Divine Wood. It condensed thousands of 5-colored roots and inserted them into the demon's right arm, frenziedly devouring it. No, what is this? Sensing that the power of the demon's right arm was being devoured by the Chaos Divine Wood, Demon Saint Cold Knight roared and attacked the Chaos Divine Wood with all his might. However, at this moment, the sword puppet appeared and blocked in front of Demon Saint Cold Knight. It continued to attack with the Dition sword and forced Demon Saint Cold Knight to retreat. After losing his right arm and suffering severe injuries, Demon Saint Cold Knight was terrified. He had no choice but to give up the idea of killing Yi Qinfeng and wanted to leave quickly. However, when he tried to break out, he realized that this space was isolated by a dangerous natural array. He was completely trapped here and couldn't leave. Mobile reading home. Book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 644. How could this be? Trapped in the ominous land. With his right arm cut off, Demon Saint Cold Knight, who was seriously injured, fell into a panic. At Yen. Could it be that he lured me here on purpose? Recalling the scene just now, Demon Saint Cold Knight suddenly thought that things could not be so coincidental. He was lured here by Yi Qinfeng, and he was afraid that he had fallen into his trap. Brat, you were injured by me on purpose to lure me here. Demon Saint Cold Knight, who had lost his left arm, looked at Yi Qinfeng with a murderous look and said gloomily, "That's right. I wonder if you are satisfied with my trick?" Yi Qinfeng revealed a faint smile and said playfully, "Brat, I'll kill you." After knowing the truth of the matter, Demon Sage Cold Knight went mad with anger. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that his meticulous scheme would cause him to step into Yi Qinfeng's trap. You still want to kill me even now. You're really daydreaming. Demon Saint Cold Night attacked crazily. The sword puppet and the two heavenly beasts continued to block him with all their might and fought fiercely. However, losing his right arm greatly affected Demon Saint Cold Night's attacking power. Gradually, his attacks were suppressed by the sword puppet and the two heavenly beasts. Chaos Divine would speed up the devouring. When Demon Saint Cold Night was restrained, Yi Qinfeng controlled the Chaos Divine would to devour Demon Saint Cold Night's right arm. What a powerful life force! Why does Demon Saint Cold Night's right arm contain such powerful life force? When the Chaos Divine would devour Demon Saint Cold Night's right arm, it discovered that his right arm was filled with a vast life force. It guessed that Demon Saint Cold Night must have a big secret. Under the crazy devouring of the Chaos Divine wood, Demon Saint Cold Night's right arm quickly withered. In the end, Demon Saint Cold Night's right arm was devoured by the Chaos Divine wood. Ah, a lowly human, you can actually devour my right arm. Demon Saint Cold Night let out an uncontrollable roar when he felt that he had completely lost contact with his right arm. He could not believe that Yi Qinfeng had such a method. Demon Saint Cold Night felt a trace of fear in his heart. Back then, even with Di Tian strength at the Nirvana heavenly realm, he wasn't able to destroy Qin Wentian and could only suppress him. But now, Yi Qinfeng had summoned a 5-colored divine tree that devoured the vitality of his right arm. If the Chaos Divine could swallow his right arm, it could also swallow him. While Devil Sage Cold Night was in a state of panic, the sword puppet stabbed forward with the Empyrean Celestial Sword. 3,680 offensive array patterns burst forth at the same time, breaking through Devil Sage Cold Night's defense and piercing into his body. Roar! Devil Sage Cold Night let out an inhuman roar as his chest was pierced through by the Emperor's Celestial Sword. The power of the Tao Spirit was completely unleashed as he crazily bombarded the sword puppet. However, the sword puppet's body had an invincible defense, and the burst of Tao Spirit power was still unable to destroy its body. However, due to the intense battle with Demon Saint Cold Night, the sword puppet's heavenly crystal energy had been severely depleted. If it continued to fight, the heavenly crystal energy in its body would be completely depleted. Under the all-out attack of the sword puppet, the severely injured Devil Sage Cold Night couldn't withstand the ferocious attacks. His chest was split open by the Empyrean Celestial Sword, and his body was severely injured again. Devil's Shadow Evasion. With his chest split open, Devil Sage Cold Night was severely injured. Without a choice, he could only execute the Devil's Shadow Evasion that was extremely damaging to his body. He turned into a devil's shadow and flew into the sky. He wanted to borrow the power of the Tao Spirit to forcefully tear apart the nature array of the great slaughtering ground and escape from this place. When Devil Sage Cold Night attacked the nature array, he had activated the hidden power of extreme death in the great slaughtering ground. Boundless death aura surged like a surging tide from all directions. It permeated the void and blasted towards Devil Sage Cold Night. Power of extreme death strangle. When Devil Saint Cold Night was attacked by the formation of great misfortune, Yi Qinfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to forcibly deduce the great formation of nature. He gathered the extreme death energy and increased the attack power of the extreme death energy. He forcibly knocked Devil Saint Cold Night, who was severely injured and roaring furiously to the ground. Half Moon Sword Slash. When Devil Sage Cold Night lost control of his body and fell, the sword puppet slashed out with the Emperor Heaven's Sword. The demonic, moon-like sword light ruthlessly slashed at his left arm, forcibly cutting off his severely injured left arm. Roar. The Jin Qing Dragon Blood Lion roared and bit onto Devil Sage Cold Night's left arm that was spurting out blood. It then came to Yi Qinfeng's side. Vermilion Bird Cauldron. Suppress. Chaos Divine would devour. As the left arm struggled violently, Yi Chen Feng controlled the vermilion bird cauldron to suppress it. Then, the chaos divine would shot out from Yi Chen Feng's body and extended out tens of thousands of five-colored roots, breaking into the left arm and crazily devouring the life force contained in the left arm. No. Feeling the life force in his left arm being rapidly drained, Devil Sage Cold Knight, who had lost both arms, let out a roar of despair. He couldn't believe that Yi Chen Feng actually had a divine item that could restrain him and threaten his life. He couldn't accept the fate of being killed right after he escaped. Human, quickly stop. If you let me go, I can tell you a shocking secret. Devil Sage Cold Knight looked at the Chaos Divine in horror and shouted loudly. Devil Sage Cold Knight, do you think I will let you go at this time? Yi Chen Feng sneered and said without a trace of emotion, Human, the secret that I know is something that even the Almighty of the Heaven Domain would covet. If you let me go, I am willing to share that secret with you. In order to survive, Devil Sage Cold Knight kept on using the secret on his body to tempt Yi Chen Feng. No need. Yi Chen Feng was unmoved and continued to order the sword puppet to attack. He wanted to destroy him while he was heavily injured. Human, if you don't stop, I will immediately explode my Tao spirit and perish together with you. Devil Sage Cold Knight, whose life was hanging by a thread, threatened loudly. Sword puppet, kill! The sword puppet didn't have much energy left in the heaven crystal. If he couldn't kill Devil Sage Cold Knight, only death would await Yi Chen Feng. Therefore, Yi Chen Feng could only order the sword puppet to continue attacking. Heaven crystal, burn! The sword spirit puppet wielded the Empyrean Heaven sword and forced Devil Sage Cold Knight to retreat. Under Yi Chen Feng's orders, it instantly burned half of the Heaven crystal's power and crazily fused it into the Empyrean Heaven sword. It activated the Empyrean Heaven sword's strongest defensive power and slashed at Devil Sage Cold Knight. Crack! The space couldn't withstand the sword puppet's slash and started to crack. The powerful sword might caused a vacuum to appear around Devil Sage Cold Knight and was about to collapse. Roar! Sensing the terror of the sword puppet slash, Devil Sage Cold Knight completely burned his Tao spirit and burst out with a shocking demonic aura to meet it. The dense demonic aura was like a black dragon. It roared and clashed with the sword puppet's shocking slash, stirring up an endless destructive storm. Sword puppet, burn all the heaven crystals. Yi Chen Feng, who was holding the nether ghost tortoise shell and hiding far away, staked everything on this one throw. He gave the sword puppet an order to go all out. Slash! The sword puppet's heaven crystals were completely burned. It held the Emperor's sky sword tightly with both hands and spun around in midair. It then slashed down with the man weapon unity. The terrifying sword might engulfed all the light in the surroundings. It was as though the entire space was only left with this invincible divine sword with heaven-shaking sword might. Boom! The black, dragon-like, demonic aura was slashed apart by the sword puppet. The terrifying sword slashed down and split Devil Sage Cold Knight into two. Even the toughest Tao spirit had a crack. Just as Devil Sage Cold Knight wanted to use the powerful life force in his body to reconstruct his demonic body, the Chaos Divine that he feared appeared with its five-colored divine light. Mobile reading website. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 645. Primal Chaos Divine would devour. Yi Chen Feng roared and seized the moment when Demon Saint Cold Knight was severely injured and at his weakest. He controlled the primal chaos divine to condense tens of thousands of five-colored roots and broke into Demon Saint Cold Knight's body to devour his vitality. BR, no, humans, stop quickly. If you are willing to let me go, I can give you unimaginable benefits and help you dominate this low-level world. Feeling the rapid loss of his vitality, Demon Saint Cold Night was terrified and had to beg for mercy. But in the face of Demon Saint Cold Night's temptations, Yi Chen-feng was unmoved and continued to control the primal chaos divine would to devour him. "Biar, you forced me to do this." Feeling the rapid loss of his vitality, Demon Saint Cold Night went all out and wanted to self-destruct his Tao spirit and perish together with Yi Chen-feng. "Biar, do you think I will give you the chance to self-destruct your Tao spirit?" The moment Demon Saint Cold Night self-destructed, a soul devourer's brain flew out from Yi Chen-feng's mind and broke into Demon Saint Cold Night's broken head, entered his soul sea, and frantically devoured his soul. "Biar, no, what is this?" After being devoured by the soul devourer's brain, Demon Saint Cold Night was really scared and let out a desperate howl. He never dreamed that he would encounter Freak when he was escaping. Not only did he have a terrifying 5-color divine that completely restrained him, but he also had a brain that could devour souls. At this time, it was too late for him to self-destruct his Tao spirit. Under the devouring of the soul devourer's brain, his consciousness became more and more blurred. In the end, his brain consciousness was wiped out by the heaven-defying soul devourer's brain, and his soul was also devoured. "Biar, phew, I finally destroyed him." After devouring Demon Saint Cold Night's soul, Yi Chen-feng, who still had lingering fear, let out a long sigh of relief and sat on the ground, panting heavily. If the sword puppet had burned all of its heavenly crystals just now, the slash would have been able to cut Devil Sage Cold Night into pieces. Without the powerful battle strength of the sword puppet, what awaited Yi Chen-feng would definitely be death. Fortunately, the scales of victory were tilted in his favor once again. He had the help of the Chaos Divine Wood and the Soul Eater's Brain, these 2 heaven-defying items, and he had the last laugh. In the end, he destroyed Demon Saint Cold Night. "Biar, Soul Eater's Brain, Chaos Divine Wood, come back!" With a thought, Yi Chen-feng summoned his 2 greatest secrets back to him. When the primal Chaos Divine Wood took root in Yi Chen-feng's heart, it immediately released a powerful life force that merged with Yi Chen-feng's body, greatly increasing his lifespan and strengthening his flame of life. "Biar, 800 years of lifespan." The primal Chaos Divine would devour Demon Saint Cold Night's life force and increased my lifespan by 800 years. Yi Chen-feng's lifespan was originally longer than an ordinary reverse Beast King expert. He had broken through to the 5th level reverse Beast King realm, and his lifespan had reached 5,200 years. Now that he had merged with the life force released by the primal Chaos Divine Wood, his lifespan had reached 6,000 years, which was longer than an ordinary reverse Beast King expert. More importantly, after merging with a large amount of life force, Yi Chen-feng's flame of life had become very vigorous. His life force had become more tenacious, and his body's self-healing ability had greatly increased. Just as Yi Chen-feng was pleasantly surprised by the changes in the life force in his body, the Soul Eater's brain returned to his soul sea. He unexpectedly found a black soul fragment in the Soul Eater's brain. "Biar, this is the soul fragment of Demon Saint Cold Night." Although he had killed Demon Saint Cold Night, Yi Chen-feng had a regret in his heart, and that was that he did not obtain the secret of Demon Saint Cold Night. But now, after the Soul Eater's brain devoured Demon Saint Cold Night's soul, it condensed a soul fragment. This made Yi Chen-feng overjoyed and excited, and he could not wait to fuse with it. "Biar, Soul Eater's brain, fuse!" With a thought, Yi Chen-feng controlled the Soul Eater's brain to fuse with the soul fragment condensed by the Soul Eater's brain. In the next moment, Yi Chen-feng learned the secret of Demon Saint Cold Night from this soul fragment, as well as the cultivation chants of the 2 great Tao techniques, Sky Demon Demon and Sky Demon Dance. "Biar," as expected, this Demon Saint Cold Night was chased by someone and took the risk to escape to the lower realm. The reason he was chased was because he accidentally obtained the map of the Tomb of the Void, one of the 3 great divine tombs of the Tian region. It was precisely because he obtained a broken space-time shuttle in the Tomb of the Void that he had the ability to cross the spatial boundary and come to the Duhan continent. His life force was vigorous, and his soul was immortal. He also obtained 2 forbidden fruits of life and 1 forbidden fruit of soul in the periphery of the Tomb of the Void. Yi Qinfeng finally knew the truth of why Demon Saint Cold Night took the risk to come to the Duhan continent. He had a strong interest in the Tomb of the Void, especially the forbidden fruits of life in the Tomb of the Void. If he could obtain some, he would be able to use the life spirit technique without restraint and greatly increase his strength. However, the Tian region was still too far away for Yi Qinfeng. What he needed to think about now was how to break out of the encirclement of Mo Fengyun, Yu Qinyuan, and the others and leave Longyuan's sacred city. BR, primal chaos, with my current strength. Do you think there will be an accident when I refine Demon Saint Cold Night's Tao spirit? Yi Qinfeng, who was the size of an egg and had the appearance of a black crystal, asked the knowledgeable Chaos Divine Beast, who had not been swallowed by the Chaos Divine Wood. BR, yes. The primal Chaos Divine Beast said, firmly, Demon Saint Cold Night's Tao spirit contains a powerful demonic aura. With your current strength, boss, you won't be able to withstand the invasion of the demonic aura. If you want to devour this Tao spirit, you have to take a spiritual item that can restrain the demonic aura at the same time. A spiritual item that can restrain the demonic aura. Do you think that Dragon Heart can restrain the demonic aura in this Tao spirit? Yi Qinfeng pondered for a moment and asked, BR, it should be possible. However, boss, the energy contained in the Dragon Heart and Demon Saint Cold Night's Tao spirit is extremely terrifying. With your current strength, devouring one of them is very difficult. If you devour 2 at the same time, your body will probably explode without any suspense. So, boss, if you want to devour the Dragon Heart and Tao spirit at the same time, you first have to increase your physical strength and endurance. Otherwise, you won't be able to devour them at the same time. The primal Chaos Divine Beast said, BR, all right, I got it. Yi Qinfeng nodded and gave up the idea of devouring Demon Saint Cold Night's Tao spirit to further increase his strength. He formed a large number of array patterns and sealed Demon Saint Cold Night's Tao spirit. Then, Yi Qinfeng used the God-Eater brain to deduce the location of the natural array's life gate. He took the 2 heavenly beasts and left this place of great danger. He flew to the highest peak of the Black Mountain Range and prepared to meditate for a period of time while waiting for the Dragon Abyss to close. BR, the high-grade Tao skill, Heavenly Demon Rope. This is a very practical Tao skill, and its level is quite high. If I can comprehend it, it can greatly increase my attack power. Yi Qinfeng healed his injuries for about a day. He controlled the Tao pattern of life to heal his injuries. He gave up the idea of continuing to explore the Dragon Abyss and cultivated the Heavenly Demon Rope on this Black Mountain peak. However, the Heavenly Demon Rope was a high-grade Tao skill, and it was extremely difficult to cultivate. Even if Yi Qinfeng had the God-Eater brain, he couldn't figure out how to cultivate it in a short period of time. Helpless, Yi Qinfeng gave up on cultivating the Heavenly Demon Rope and started to cultivate the 6th move of the 7 Swords of Judgment, Destruction, and the Emperor Heavenly Sword technique. Time passed day by day, and Yi Qinfeng cultivated for 13 days without sleep and rest. He finally grasped the 6th move of the 7 Swords of Judgment, Destruction, and the 2nd move of the Emperor Heavenly Sword technique, Emperor Heavenly Sword. Just as Yi Qinfeng, who was immersed in cultivation, wanted to continue cultivating the 7th move of the 7 Swords of Judgment, which was also the most powerful move, a black light screen that covered thousands of miles appeared in the sky above the Dragon Abyss. BR, the Dragon Abyss is finally closing. Yi Qinfeng spat out a mouthful of turbid air. He stopped his cultivation and slowly stood up. Yi Chenfeng looked at the black light screen that was slowly rotating and emitted a powerful teleportation force. "BR, Mo Fengyin, I don't know if you are anxious from waiting?" Yi Chenfeng was very clear about what he would face once he left the Dragon Abyss, but he wasn't afraid. His body flashed and swept into midair, like a divine sword that could split the heavens and earth. He flew into the blacklight screen and disappeared from the Dragon Abyss. This book came from /book/html/30/30709/indexmal. Chapter 646. Spatial Whirlpool. They are finally coming out. Mo Fengyin, Yu Qinyuan, and the rest had been waiting at the entrance of Dragon Abyss for several months. Suddenly, they discovered that the space around the entrance was distorted. Powerful teleportation forces were released from the spatial whirlpool and blocked the entrance. They were waiting for Yi Chenfeng to appear so that they could kill him and take everything he had. "Kacha!" A crisp sound of space tearing rang out. A young man in dark purple robes was the first to leave Dragon Abyss and appeared in Dragon Abyss Sacred City. Ziyin. Looking at the purple-robed man, Qi Tianxue let out a long sigh of relief and revealed a look of joy. From Ziyin's aura, he discovered that Ziyin had actually broken through to Class 4 Defiant Beast King. Before Ziyin entered Dragon Abyss, he was only a Class 2 Defiant Beast King. In just a few months, he had broken through from Class 2 Defiant Beast King to Class 4 Defiant Beast King. Ziyin, let me ask you, what happened to you in the Dragon Abyss? Where are the others? Did Yi Chenfeng die in the Dragon Abyss? Mo Fengyin coldly asked Ziyin, who was slowly flying over. Replying to Sect Master Mo, Dragon Abyss isn't what you think. It's extremely dangerous. There's a demon suppressed inside, a very terrifying demon. Many people died because of him. Because I wasn't strong enough, I hid in a shrine and didn't dare to leave. I only dared to leave when Dragon Abyss closed. As for Yi Chenfeng and the others, I don't know. I don't know who survived in the end. Ziyin narrated his experience in Dragon Abyss. Demon. There's a demon suppressed in Dragon Abyss. Hearing Ziyin's narration, apart from Mo Fengyin, Yu Qinyuan, and a few others, everyone was dumbfounded. It could be said that Ziyin's narration was beyond their imagination. Kacha, Kacha! Just as Mo Fengyin and the others were about to continue interrogating Ziyin, the sound of space cracking could be heard from the slowly rotating spatial vortex. Yu Bingyu, Ing, and Heisher Tuji left the Dragon Abyss and returned to the Dragon Abyss Sacred City. Bingyu, why did you come out alone? Where's Zhongtian? Why isn't he with you? When Yu Qinyuan and Yu Hong saw that Yu Bingyu had left the Dragon Abyss, they secretly let out a sigh of relief. They immediately stepped on the void and came to her side. Zhongtian, he. Yu Bingyu bit her lip and hesitated for a moment. When she thought about Mo Qianxin's identity and the uncertain fate of Yi Chenfeng, she could only tell the truth. Zhongtian was killed by Yi Chenfeng. What? Zhongtian is dead? A single stone raises 1,000 ripples. Hearing the news of Yu Zhongtian's death, Yu Qinyuan and Yu Hong, the two elders of the Yu family, fell into a daze. Immediately afterward, a surge of anger was emitted from their bodies. They were completely enraged by this news. Although Yu Zhongtian wasn't the most outstanding genius of the Yu family, his talent and strength could be ranked in the top 5 of the Yu family. In order to nurture him, the Yu family had spent a lot of effort and resources. But now, he was killed by Yi Chenfeng in the Dragon Abyss. This undoubtedly caused the Yu family to suffer a huge loss. It would also shake the foundation of the Yu family in the future. Not only is Zhongtian dead, Mo Wuang was also killed by Yi Chenfeng. Yu Bingyu looked at the enraged Yu Qinyuan and Yu Hong and sighed softly in her heart. Mo Wuang was also killed by Yi Chenfeng. At this moment, not only were the two elders of the Yu family enraged, but the entire Western Devil sect was also immersed in a sea of anger. A a thick, baleful aura intertwined, making it hard for people to breathe. That means Yi Qin-feng isn't dead. Mo Fingyun's eyes flashed with a sharp light as he looked at Yu Bingyu with a complicated expression and said coldly, He might have already died in the dragon abyss. Yu Bingyu sighed in her heart. She told Mo Fengyun and the rest about how Yi Qin-feng was heavily injured by the cold night devil sage and how he was being hunted down. However, she deliberately hid the fact that Yi Qin-feng had saved them. The devil that was suppressed in the dragon abyss came from the illusory heavenly region. He has already escaped. After hearing Yu Bingyu's explanation, even Mo Fengyun's expression changed. Yu Qinyuan said with an ugly expression, Yes, that devil's strength is extremely terrifying. It is very likely that he came from the heavenly region. The dragon abyss is actually the place where that devil is being suppressed. Yu Bingyu nodded and said, Sect Master Mo, this matter is too serious. If what Bingyu said is true, then once that devil leaves the dragon abyss, he will bring a destructive disaster to the entire Duhan continent. I must quickly send this news back to the Yu family and let them decide on this matter. Yu Qinyuan felt the seriousness of the matter and said solemnly, All right. Mo Fengyun also felt a little troubled. However, at this moment, another crack appeared in the spatial whirlpool. A sharp aura shot out of the spatial crack. In the next moment, Yi Qin-feng, who wore a white robe and had an overbearing aura, walked out of the spatial rift while stepping on strands of Dao Will and returned to Longyuan's sacred city. Yi Qin-feng, he didn't die. Seeing Yi Qin-feng's sudden appearance, everyone, including Mo Fengyun, was stunned. They didn't dare to believe that Yi Qin-feng had actually escaped the pursuit of the cold night devil sage from the heavenly region. He didn't die. He really didn't die. Looking at the familiar figure of Yi Qin-feng, Shadow's face that was hidden under the mask revealed a smile. Yu Bingyu, who was feeling complicated, also couldn't help but reveal a trace of joy on her enchanting face. Yi Qin-feng, I didn't expect you to be able to escape the pursuit of that devil and leave the dragon abyss alive. However, this still can't change your fate. Accept your death obediently. Mo Fengyun came back to his senses in an instant. With a roar, billowing demonic qi gushed out from his body and instantly gathered into a huge black hand. With a strong sense of oppression, it grabbed at Yi Qin-feng, covering the sky and the sun. We don't know who will die yet. 60 sword Dao patterns gushed out of Yi Qin-feng's body and turned into a light sword that could split heaven and earth. It slashed at the huge black hand formed by Mo Fengyun and split it in half. 6th heavenly sword Dao Will. Looking at the 60 sword Dao patterns that were formed, the experts of the major forces who were hiding in the distance fell into a daze. They couldn't imagine that Yi Qin-feng had comprehended the 6th heavenly sword Dao Will to the 6th heavenly sword Dao Will in the dragon abyss. Black wheel of death. Mo Fengyun's face darkened. 10 black wheels of death that were filled with the dark Dao Will broke out of his body and tore the space apart as they slashed at Yi Qin-feng. Great Sun, Heavenly Fire Fist. The 10 black wheels of death attacked at extreme speed. Yi Qin-feng decisively ignited his dragon bloodline and merged with the power of the 5 spiritual pearls. He blasted out fist radiance that was like a scorching sun and bombarded the black wheels of death. Boom! 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 A series of deafening explosions resounded. The great sun heavenly fire fist that was filled with 18 million gene of force and the power of the dragon bloodline blasted Mo Fengyun's black wheels of death. Mo Fengyun's tyrannical strength was revealed. Sigh, this is going to be troublesome. If Yi Qin-feng escapes from the Dragon Abyss Sacred City, he will definitely become the nightmare of our western continent in the future. Our Stygian underworld sect will most likely become the target of his revenge. The supreme elder of the Stygian underworld sect, Shui Honghen, looked at Yi Qin-feng, who was displaying his invincible might. He sighed softly and spoke with concern. Master, Perhaps things aren't as tragic as you think. Yi Qinfeng is a dragon among men. If he doesn't die this time, given his strength and identity, will he seek revenge on our small Stygian underworld sect? As long as we don't provoke him in the future, he won't bother about us. Shui Yurua looked at Yi Qinfeng from afar and recalled the intimate scenes between them. She sighed softly in her heart and spoke faintly. Yurua, perhaps you are right. Our Stygian underworld sect is only an ant in his eyes. He doesn't care about us anymore. Shui Honghen was stunned for a moment before he revealed a bitter smile. Yi Qinfeng, I have really underestimated you. I would like to see how much your strength has increased in the Dragon Abyss. Mo Fengyan had not expected Yi Qinfeng's strength to have increased so much. His face darkened as a terrifying force that could shake heaven and earth was released from his body. He held a heaven-grade blood saber in his hand and launched a fierce attack on Yi Qinfeng. Mobile reading site. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support.